Morning. It's now 5 o'clock, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Well, the search for missing persons in hurricane-ravaged East Tennessee is making some progress. FEMA reports there are still 27 people who are reported missing, and that number was 500 just after the storm had passed. Well, the Tennessee death toll still stands at 11. That's the same as yesterday. Social media claims that FEMA is stealing donations meant for hurricane victims are overblown, says Congressman Tim Burchett on WTN's Matt Murphy show.
That is just not true. They have no apparatus to do that. And I keep saying, show me the specifics. Show me where this is happening, not some internet story that their third cousin told them. And, and I can't speak for the military. That's a different thing. But FEMA, they're Tennesseans, folks.
An 18-year-old from Texas was busted at a Greyhound bus station in Nashville yesterday. Metro Nashville police say Ivan Corrales was transporting 10,000 pills containing fentanyl in his carry-on bag. He was booked into jail on a $75,000 bond and charged with multiple counts. A Nashville woman has been arrested for sexual exploitation of a minor. 44-year-old Letha Milton Walker was arrested after police said they discovered sexually explicit material involving children sent in private social media chats. Some of the children displayed in the images and videos that were sent were digitally traced back to Milton Walker's North 12th Street apartment. And that's where she was arrested. Country music superstar Garth Brooks is being sued by a woman who claims she was raped when she worked as a hairstylist and makeup artist for the singer. No comment from Brooks. Market Numbers Report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Here's Michelle Franzen.
Stocks slipped on Wall Street with no easing of tensions across the Middle East. The Dow lost 185 points. The S&P fell 10. The Nasdaq dropped 7. Oil prices are still rising, especially after President Biden suggested that U.S. and Israeli officials were discussing a possible strike by Israel against Iranian oil facilities. A barrel of Brent crude jumped 5% to settle at almost $78. Investors are anxiously awaiting Friday's September jobs report. The weekly claims on Thursday ticked up slightly while planned layoffs dipped. Shares of Levi Strauss tumbled after the company reported a disappointing revenue forecast and said it was considering a sale of its Dockers brand. Retailers are ramping up hiring for the holiday season. Outplacement firm Challenger, Gray, and Christmas expects retailers to add 520,000 new jobs compared to 564,000 in 2023.
Got a mixed bag on the futures market this morning. The Dow futures are down 9, but NASDAQ futures up 39. And we've got S&P futures ahead by 6 points. That's the latest news. We've got traffic and weather ahead. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Just one trouble spot this morning. It's in Old Hickory Boulevard at Hadley Avenue, a crash involving some injuries. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Information fueled,
opinion driven. This is Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
we talk news.
5:06, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. 1, 2, 3, 5. We got 5 people on CNN talking right now about what Donald Trump said about Liz Cheney.
It's terrible. Liz Cheney is a stupid war hawk. All she wants to do is shoot missiles at people. I really think it hurts. I think, frankly, if Kamala, I think they hurt each other. I think they're so bad, both of them.
So Donald Trump calls Liz Cheney a stupid war hawk. And all she wants to do is drop missiles on people. And they've got 5 people on CNN talking about Donald Trump calling Liz Cheney a stupid war hawk. Liz Cheney, I am proudly voting for Kamala Harris. Okay, you go right on ahead, Liz Cheney. Not real surprising, but very, very funny. And here's the thing. One of the things that I've noticed is there's a few names out there that really will rile up conservatives, rile up Donald Trump supporters, and clearly Liz Cheney is one of those. And so if Liz Cheney and Dick Cheney, if they want to go out and they want to support Kamala Harris, knock yourselves out. Knock yourselves out. By the way, I don't know if you saw this, but on MSNBC, I think this was yesterday, a never Trumper turned into an always Trumper, a shocking moment. As a guy who defined himself as this never Trumper, he suddenly changed positions.
No, I don't stand by it, and I'll tell you why. I've now lived 4 years under the Biden-Harris policies, and I have to say that those policies are not only becoming an existential threat to our country's way of life, but to our allies as well.
Do you know who that is? That is Gordon Sondland. Now, you remember him, right? Former ambassador to the EU. And remember that he actually testified as a star witness for the prosecution in the impeachment trials of Donald Trump. So he is the first to admit that he was no fan of Donald Trump. But right now, he says that times have changed. And so is he. Now, Ari Melber, you probably know him. If you don't, he's one of these libs on MSNBC. His head literally exploded. Because you know how this works, right? You got Gordon Sondland on there, and he is supposed to provide the role of Donald Trump detractor. He's supposed to provide the role of Donald Trump hater. He was a Donald Trump, clearly not a supporter. He was a never Trumper. Ari Melber won't even let him finish the thought. He won't even let him finish the sentence.
So when you Ambassador, I'll let you finish, but this is so striking. You said it was a no for me after that, after January 6th.
I did.
And here we are right now.
I did.
And you're saying it's a yes for you.
It is a yes for me. It is an absolute yes for me. That is how badly the Biden-Harris team have prosecuted their job.
But the whole point you seem to be making was that January 6th and that kind of attack on democracy is bigger than any policy.
But I am seeing so many attacks on democracy that eclipse January 6th.
I mean, he is absolutely right. And how long have we been speaking about this? I love what he said. The attacks on democracy, put that in air quotes, that we've seen over the last 4 years far eclipse what happened on January 6th. Now, Melber didn't choose to dive into those examples, but Gordon Sondland can tell you, and I've been telling you, and we've all been telling you, the lawfare. You don't think that lawfare All of this lawfare against Donald Trump, trying to throw him off the ballot in states across the country, trying to throw him in jail so that he couldn't run for president. We're seeing that to this day. Here on this Friday, we have Jack Smith, special counsel for Joe Biden, a little over 30 days away from going to the polls, and they're regurgitating and upping the accusations against Donald Trump. It's like an October surprise. Shocking allegations, they say, from inside sources where Donald Trump supposedly said, who cares about the safety of Mike Pence? Again, inside sources, anonymous sources. And so what they're trying to do with this lawfare is they're trying to destroy our democracy by trying to destroy a political candidate by going after him politically and legally. That's called lawfare. You show me the man, and I'll bring you the crime. That's what this is, on a number of different fronts. You've got that. You've got the classified documents. You've got the rape charges. You've got the charges that Donald Trump was inflating his property values. I mean, it goes on and on. We've covered all of these extensively. Other attacks on democracy, of course, include the illegal immigration that we've seen that will impact our elections, infect our cities with crime, and destroy our schools. And so when Gordon Sondland says, okay, you know what? You want to call January 6th an attack on our democracy? Hold my beer. Let me tell you all of the other ways that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have obliterated our democracy. And that's just a few. And so this goes on. They had a White House spokesperson on. This woman is named Sarah Matthews. She actually tried to defend Harris on a couple of points, and that's her job.
Kamala Harris, I think we should give her grace that she can moderate her positions. If J.D. Vance can go from calling Trump America's Hitler to now being his running mate, I'm going to give her that grace that she can moderate her positions too.
That does not fly, friends. Apples and oranges. J.D. Vance changed his mind on Donald Trump after Donald Trump led the nation for 4 years. J.D. Vance realized that Donald Trump clearly was not Hitler. He realized that Donald Trump was someone who wanted what was best for America. Kamala Harris moderating her positions is nothing more than political convenience. It's gaslighting. It is a cynical play for the White House as she continues to gaslight the American people. Her campaign is based on hope, a hope that we'll all forget the last 4 years of incompetence.
The ambassador said that he's concerned about protecting our allies. Well, what about Ukraine? Donald Trump has basically said that we should give parts of Ukraine away to Putin. And on top of that, he has openly invited Putin to invade some of our NATO allies. So those are things that concern me about a second Trump term.
Right. So we give Ukraine billions and billions and billions of dollars in never-ending war funds, and we don't have enough money for American citizens in case of disasters, as we learned this week, because FEMA is rapidly running out of money. They need more money to get us through hurricane season. But don't worry, Zelensky has his billions of dollars. And so note to the White House yet again, a blank check for Ukraine is not a policy. And this woman, White House spokesperson Sarah Matthews, she talks about how Donald Trump would basically abandon our allies. And my comment to that is really? Is that the play you want to make? Would you like to talk about Israel and about how Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, their support for Israel has been lukewarm at best over the last year? Especially how they have emboldened Israel's enemies and our enemies. Iran, China, Russia. You talk about how Joe Biden has emboldened all of those enemies, and what that does is that does put not only our country, but our allies at peril as well. But coming up next is the money quote from this woman, Sarah Matthews, from the White House. You've got to hear this. It is coming up. It's 5:15. Time to check the roads on WTN.
Well, it looks like things are running pretty smoothly this morning, with one exception in Old Hickory Boulevard at Hadley Avenue. That's a crash involving some injuries. Been there for a while, and that may cause some delays. Traffic every 10 minutes, every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. 5:15, partly cloudy today with a high of 86. Sunny this weekend with highs in the upper 80s. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News. Just an incredible moment on MSNBC where never Trumpers turn into always Trumpers. We're talking about Gordon Sondland. He was the former ambassador to the EU. And this is a guy who was one of the star witnesses for the Democrats as they were trying to impeach Donald Trump. And he was a never Trumper. And now I'm playing for you audio from this segment where you had Sondland say, you know what? The Democrats are so incredibly focused on January 6th and how that was an attack on our democracy and all of this other BS. And one of the audio bites that I played was Gordon Sondland saying, you know what? You want to talk about January 6th? Hold my beer. And he went through all of these other instances where Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, they are a threat to our democracy based on their policy. And we talked about giving money to Ukraine. We're talking about all of these illegal aliens coming into our country, crime that is skyrocketing. All of these things are a legit and practical threat to our democracy. And Sarah Matthews, this White House spokesman, she's defending the behavior of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, which really is what she is supposed to do. But listen to what she says.
I'm willing to set policy aside in this election. I don't agree with Kamala Harris on most things. But at the end of the day, you know what we can agree on? That we respect the Constitution, that I believe she is someone who will uphold it. And Donald Trump has shown us that he won't.
So I want to play that one more time.
I'm willing to set policy aside in this election.
She's willing to put policy aside in this election. You know why she's doing that? Do you know why this White House spokesperson is saying that? Because they can't run on policy. Because the American people side with Donald Trump and J.D. Vance on literally every single issue that they're running on, with the exception of abortion. And I would say to this Sarah Matthews,
I'm willing to set policy aside in this election.
That policy has literally killed people and destroyed people's own personal economy in this country. And so for Sarah Matthews, White House spokesperson, it's like, do you hear yourself? People have died because of the illegal immigration policy of Donald Trump and his border czar, Kamala Harris. People are massively in debt because of the last 4 years of Biden's inflation. I mean, I think you get my point. That is such an incredible and important statement.
I'm willing to set policy aside in this election.
This is what Gordon Sondland said to that.
Policy matters greatly because policy translates into our way of life.
And you know what's funny? You can hear a couple of other people literally laughing at this woman from the Biden administration, saying that policy does not matter. You can hear them laughing. They are aghast, as I'm sure that you folks are aghast too, at that statement from Sarah Matthews from the White House.
Policy matters greatly because policy translates into our way of life and the way our country operates. What I want to express is that I've now lived for 4 years under the Biden-Harris administration. I lived in a bucolic city of Portland, Oregon, which has been destroyed by those policies, absolutely decimated. Yep. Businesses are suffering. My own business is suffering solely for political reasons. And it's all fixable, and they don't want to fix it.
Yeah, he's right. And by the way, for the hate listeners out there, Gordon Sondland comes out and says that, yes, there were irregularities in the election of 2020, but Sondland also says that Donald Trump legitimately lost the election. So his point in saying that was you simply cannot discredit me or my statements as saying I'm just another conspiracy theorist. And by the way, Donald Trump is still doing very well in the polls this morning. But when it comes to the election, this is what CNN says that people are actually worried about. In a CNN SSRS poll, About 4 in 10 likely voters said the economy was the most important issue as they choose a candidate. Protecting democracy, they say, was second at 21%. Immigration was at 12%. Abortion was at 11%. Harris voters were more likely than others to choose protecting democracy as most important over the economy at 21%. I think that few people can actually define what protecting democracy actually means. Well, what does that mean anymore? Because I just documented that there are many ways to define protecting democracy. But what is easy to define is grocery and gas prices being really high, illegal aliens flooding our country, invading our country. I think that polling from CNN is quite simply a lie. I believe that it's a lie. I simply don't believe that 21% of the American people are more worried about this concept of protecting democracy, which I'm just going to be honest with you at this point, it sounds really abstract. When you compare it to the practical matter and the horrific realities of Bidenflation and illegal immigration and all of the consequences of those two realities of the Biden-Harris administration. It is 5:22 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. We've got Joan Jones coming up with the news at 5:30. Joan, what's up?
Well, put down that giant package of toilet paper. The dock workers' strike is over. And we've got an update, too, on Hurricane Helene rescue efforts. That's all coming up here at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. By the way, the Super Text line is open at 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. By the way, keep that phone number handy because coming up, maybe in the 6 o'clock hour, I'm going to take some phone calls. I'm going to take some phone calls because I was asked for a bit of advice from a listener who has a problem. And it has to do with politics and friendships. And it's actually a really interesting question. And so she asked me for my advice. I'm going to ask you for your advice on what you would tell this listener. So that is coming up here on Nashville's Morning News. Dan Mandis here for Paul Winkler, one of the smartest guys I know. And Paul has been helping people retire for years now. And he's got a big workshop coming up on Medicare. Now, there's a huge expense when it comes to dealing with Medicare for a lot of different reasons. Paul is bringing in a Medicare expert to go through what Medicare actually covers and what it doesn't, what it costs, and how to enroll, among many other things related to Medicare. Now, this can be really complicated, but what Paul is going to do and his guests, what they're going to do is they're going to break it all down so that you know exactly what to do when it's time for you to sign up for Medicare. If you've got parents that are older and getting ready to sign up, then this could be extremely beneficial for you as well. But there's more to this conversation than just signing up for Medicare. There's also the discussion of staying healthy. That is going to be covered as well. And just so you know, there are different Medicare plans and different problems to go with those plans. Paul is going to help you avoid those pitfalls and make sure that you understand all of the traps, including biased agents that might put you on the wrong plan. So arm yourself with information with Paul Winkler. Now, this seminar is free. It's going to happen on October 17th at noon. Find all the details at paulwinkler.com/Medicare. That's paulwinkler.com/Medicare. Hey everybody, Dan Mandis with Nashville's Morning News and Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I was speaking to Dr. Christopher Van Shank the other day at a station event. Now, he's a psychiatrist, and he was telling me about the mental health crisis here in America. And as you know, it's out of control. The COVID lockdowns were an absolute disaster. And Dr. Van Shank, again, he's a psychiatrist. And if you're one of those people, you feel like maybe you need to talk to somebody, I would recommend Dr. Christopher Van Shank. He can help you with addictions, depression, anxiety. He can also help kids with the same thing. He's been doing this for 15 years. He's been helping people, and he is here for you today. So if you want to check out his website is nolensvillepsychiatry.com. That's nolensvillepsychiatry.com. There's a whole list of issues that he can help you with. So check him out. If you feel like he can help you, give him a call. The number is below, and good luck.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Good morning. It's now 5:30. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. We're looking at 64 degrees now, a few clouds, but boy, is it going to warm up today. Up to 87. Stick around for the forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. The strike by 45,000 dock workers at East and Gulf Coast ports is now over, at least for now. A deal to increase wages for 62% over 6 years sealed the deal yesterday to suspend the strike until January 15th. That gives both sides time to work out other issues like automation. Here's ABC's Andrew Dimbart.
Work resuming immediately after an uncertain 3 days that saw ports from Maine to Texas shut down. The disruption could have potentially crippled the U.S. economy, leading to supply shortages and higher retail prices ahead of the holiday shopping season. The International Longshoremen's Association, representing 45,000 workers at East and Gulf Coast ports, reaching a deal Thursday to suspend the work stoppage. The tentative agreement with the U.S. Maritime Alliance, which represents the ports and shipping companies, will pause the strike until January 15th.
Got an update now on Hurricane Helene in Tennessee. The death toll stands at 11 today. That's the same as yesterday. And here there are still 27 people who are unaccounted for. Impact Plastics, the Unicoi County company where 2 employees died and several others are still missing, has yet to notify the Tennessee Occupational Safety and Health Administration about the employees' deaths. Meantime, the company's CEO, Gerald O'Connor, spoke to Channel 4 about its response to the hurricane.
There was time to escape. Employees were not told at any time that they would be fired if they left the plant. After checking to make sure everyone was out of our plant and to rescue important files, I was one of the last people to leave the plant and luckily escape.
And he goes on to say that no one died inside the plant. Video shows the missing employees stayed on the road near the parking lot for 45 minutes after the plant closed. Market numbers report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Stock futures turned higher now. Dow futures are up 22, NASDAQ futures up 70, and the S&P 500 futures are up 13 points. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather still to come. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. 5:32 on WTN. All of this rain, of course, you could end up with water in your crawl space or basement. That moisture could be an indication that you have waterproofing issues, and it also means that you need to call my friends at United Structural Systems, USS. Now, when you see this water, when you see this moisture, it could be a little problem about to get bigger, or it could be nothing at all, but it could be something serious. The bottom line is you've got to call the experts in waterproofing, USS. Now, if you do see water or moisture in your basement, you got to call this number. Always tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out, by the way. It's 615-488-7855, 615-488-7855. They come out to your house, USS does, as problem solvers, and their ultimate goal is to give you the peace of mind you need by making sure that you understand what exactly is going on. 615-488-7855. They've been keeping homes dry and stable for years, and that's why homeowners, including me, trust United Structural Systems. Online at ussTN.com.
Still there, that crash in Old Hickory on Old Hickory Boulevard at Hadley Avenue, that one involving some injuries. That may cause some slowdowns this morning. Otherwise, it's just construction set up all around the area. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.37. Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on into the Gang of Three. Joan Jones, good morning.
Hello there.
Johnny B's here. Hello, Johnny.
Hello. Good morning, guys.
I owe a personal apology.
Uh-oh.
And I'll go ahead and apologize for everyone.
Okay.
What did we do?
Yeah.
Poor 9304 on the super text line.
Yeah.
Has been texting us since August. I hate this. August of 2023.
What?
Well.
Not one of us has responded to poor 9304. So 9304, thank you for texting and thank you for listening.
9304.
Man.
He's right at the top, Joan, if you're watching.
That's dedication right there.
It is dedication. And I feel bad because people are like, I text in all the time and you guys never respond.
I'm sorry.
I really tried. Do you remember, Johnny, that ill-fated day? Joan, you'll love this.
Yes,
Okay.
I'll never forget that.
I feel like there's been a couple of those kind of days.
Oh, with me?
Yeah.
About 5 times a week.
This one was one, Joan, where we knew immediately when he said it, he's going to regret that.
I said, Joan, that I was going to respond to every single super texter that day.
What?
Yes, he
There's
did.
millions of them that come in. Maybe not that
um,
many, but
I'm still trying. And that was like a year ago. So, I mean, I don't know. And now people are picking on 9304. 4859 says, hey, 9304, have a better comment and you'll get a reply.
Oh, ouch.
So now we're talking smack.
Yeah.
Now the texters are, talking smack and all that kind of stuff. Hey, can we talk a little bit about toilet paper?
Yeah, let's do.
Okay.
Because Amy and I went to Costco yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Not a square to be found.
No, you can't find toilet paper anywhere.
Yeah.
What is crazy? Can I just ask this question? Because I thought it was funny, Joan, in your newscast, because the dock workers have now graced us with their presence for another 3 months.
Yes, isn't that nice of them?
Oh, very nice, guys. Thanks so much.
Well,
Save
I like
that
how
guy's Bentley. Go on.
I love how the big house, the $1 million, and the whole thing, the union boss.
Oh yeah.
I like how DeSantis basically said, you know what, F you, we're going to keep our ports open.
Yep.
And so I love what DeSantis did. He basically said, screw you, we've got a country to save.
That's something Ronald Reagan would do.
That's right.
Absolutely. So the funny thing, though, is that you said in your newscast something about toilet paper and like you don't have to run out and buy toilet paper or something like that. Au contraire. This is now the time to stock up on toilet paper because people are dumb.
Why do people do this?
I don't know. And you know what? Here's the deal. So if there's a... Yeah, I'm going to do this. Doggone it, Mandis. So if you run out of toilet paper, you know what? You've got a built-in bidet in your backyard with a garden hose.
There you go.
Right? I mean, if you're going to stockpile anything, stockpile food.
Buy some corn.
Are you
corn on the
suggesting that
cob.
people should dig a hole?
No.
What are you suggesting?
No, if you see, I knew this was ill-fated. The second I went down this road.
This is why we love Joan.
No, what I'm saying, Joan, is, okay, so look. My advice is that if you're out of toilet paper, you can go to the bathroom and then do the walk to the backyard and hose yourself off if you need to. That's what real survivors do, Joan.
That's right.
Right, Johnny?
That's correct.
Real survivors.
Country boy can survive.
I'm trying to figure out
hose
how that
yourself
works in
off
my
with a
head.
garden hose in the backyard. Listen, stuff happens.
Now, my wife had a great observation last time we had toilet paper shortage.
Yeah.
And no one really thought of this.
Yes.
But we were going down the aisle, and of course, there's no toilet paper. And then we go down the cleaning aisle, where all the cleaning products are.
Mm-hmm.
There was an overabundance of toilet cleaner. Plenty to be found. Why is that? It looks like one would beget the other, that you would have to buy extra toilet cleaner. Yet there's plenty.
Yeah.
So are you guys not cleaning your toilets?
Apparently not. Joan, do you have a problem with Johnny's comment, or is your vitriol just aimed at me this morning?
I'm still trying to figure out in my head how that works.
Well, people can also just take a shower.
Yes, you can.
I mean, here's the deal. So here's the deal, John.
So here's me thinking what you suggested. You put the towel around your waist, you have to be naked from waist down for this.
Yeah, baby.
It depends on where you live. I can walk around my backyard completely naked.
So, okay, maybe you can, but a lot of people would have to walk out the backyard, wave to the neighbor and say, would you mind turning around for a minute and then hose yourself off? How does that work?
Listen,
Dan?
if the neighbors have a problem with that, then that's a neighbor problem. That's not my problem.
See, I can't do that because, our neighbors look through the binoculars.
Well, okay, so what are the options? Listen. All right, you know what, Joan? You're so smart.
Yeah.
So if you run out of toilet paper, what are you going to do?
Get some leaves. That's a real outdoorsy thing.
Yes, it is. She's got a point.
Okay, so I want to make sure that we're clear on some things.
I don't know why I said that. Go ahead.
So Joan is okay with going into the backyard and getting some leaves, which are going to be a little prickly and probably not that efficient because, they kind of crumble, Joan.
Well, they do if it's November.
That's right.
Hey, Johnny, what month is it?
October.
It's October.
And then November,
and
then
starting to
December,
fall.
and then January, when they go back out on strike.
Real
Okay, let's go.
Used
Are we
leaves.
really going to do this? Super texters, would you rather hose yourself off, take a shower, or Joan's idea, use leaves? Johnny, which would you rather do?
I would go for the shower.
Okay. Johnny.
If it came down to it, though, Joan, I would be right there. I'd go get a leaf.
Hey, Joan, now, Johnny, here's what you do. Ask Joan if there's anything wrong, and she's going to say, no, I'm fine.
I'm okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
I'm not mad.
And people are saying, what about if you grab a leaf that's actually poison ivy, which is what I would probably do.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Know your leaves.
Yeah, you have to know your leaves.
That's exactly right. You have to know your leaves.
If one has fallen down off of a tree, generally it's fine.
Use an old shirt. Shower for sure.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
The old shirt, no.
There are so many coming. Joan, are you looking at this?
Well, I'm not logged in because your login wasn't working anymore, and I still don't have my own texting login.
Joan, don't feel bad.
You don't either?
I've been here for a very long time, and I don't have.
Dave says this is truly an award-winning radio segment. Oh,
yes, it is.
Dave, we haven't
hey, come
even
on, Dave.
begun.
We haven't scratched the surface yet, Dave.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
Or pun intended.
Did you hear about Will Smith's farts?
No, I haven't.
Are you serious?
This is an actual headline from Variety. Men in Black director says Will Smith is a farter. One fart was so bad, we evacuated the stage for about 3 hours. And that's incredible.
Wow.
That's a headline in Variety.
Variety needs something else to talk about.
I was going to say, is it like a slow
It must
news
be.
It must be.
Must
day
be.
or something?
Yeah.
Must be. They must be.
Either that or they have something in for Will Smith, and who doesn't?
I want to know, which is more lethal, a Will Smith slap or a fart?
Let's ask Chris Rock.
Yeah.
Somebody get a hold of Chris Rock. Chris, would you rather have a slap or a fart?
I guess they're tired of the Diddy stories.
I guess. But you're right, Joan. It's like this is actually a headline in Variety. And they're treating it like a serious story.
Variety, yeah. It's Variety, and it's Hollywood. This is It's intentional. Absolutely intentional. They've got something that they're airing a grievance about Will Smith again.
Yeah, he made somebody angry.
Yeah.
Well, we all know what he did.
Yeah.
I mean, he slapped, Chris Rock in that whole thing. And that whole thing was just...
That was pretty classless.
It was... Well, so what that did, of course, was that brought the very weird, bizarre marriage between Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith out into the open, where...
Yes.
She was having affairs. They may have had an open marriage. I mean, you up to speed on all that, Joan?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So feel free to comment on that.
Okay.
They brought it all out in the open as their marriage.
Yeah.
Very good, Johnny.
I never got it. I never understood it. And I think that what they've done to their children is immeasurable damage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would absolutely agree with that. Anybody want to go down the road of Garth Brooks?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty...
Garth Brooks has been accused of rape in a lawsuit from the hair and makeup artist, I guess, of his wife.
And him.
Yeah.
She did,
yeah.
I didn't mean to put it that way. She did makeup and hair for both of them.
A woman who says she worked for Garth Brooks and his wife alleges in a lawsuit filed on Thursday that he raped her in a Los Angeles hotel in 2019. Now, Garth is saying that this is just an attempt to get money, millions of dollars out of him. Mm-hmm. And she's been threatening to go public. And Garth says, that this has been going on. It's like having a loaded gun pointed at your head. And if you're, and I don't know what happened, but I will tell you that when you're somebody who has a lot of money, people can make these kinds of allegations all the time.
And that's what we saw with Donald Trump over and over and over again.
You're absolutely right, Joan.
Yeah.
This is what you see with Donald Trump and a lot of people on social media who are Garth Brooks haters. And, listen, there's some things that Garth has said about Republicans and conservatives that I don't really like, or conservative values that I don't like. But if these allegations are false and that this was just an attempt to extort Garth Brooks out of millions of dollars, then that's wrong. But you see these kinds of things all the time, and you don't know who's telling the truth. I will tell you that if this is from, 2019, okay, so is there a police report?
Yes.
And is there, are there witnesses? Who did she tell at the time? These are all things that we have found in the past where there's no witnesses, there's no police report. No one was actually told, or it was something that was consensual in nature that all of a sudden over time has turned into rape. I mean, these are things that we see all the time. I don't know what happened. I'm not defending Garth. I don't know who this woman is other than, the fact that she worked as a makeup artist for Garth and the
Trisha Yearwood. Yeah.
So he did put out a statement. Have you read the statement?
No, go ahead.
He said, quote, "I have been hassled to no end with threats, lies, and tragic tales of what my future would be if I did not write a check for many millions of dollars. It has been like having a loaded gun waved in my face." Oh. Observation number 2. What do you usually call someone, a female, who's not going to be named?
I don't know.
What's the common terminology? Jane
Doe.
Jane Doe. This person calls herself Jane Roe.
Oh, God.
Oh,
Yeah.
Just
Lord.
stop it.
Oh, Lord.
Yep. So when all of these...
I hate to say it, but I automatically side with Garth on this one.
Yeah.
That may be the wrong thing to say, but...
Well, and the thing is that if she is truly lying, this hurts women that actually go through.
Absolutely.
And how
It's
long
kind
have,
of
and
horrific.
we talked about this during #MeToo for how long? By the way, here's what the woman says. The woman alleges that they were in a hotel. He appeared naked in the doorway to the bedroom and then raped her. So when these kinds of things happen, oftentimes there's been smoke, right? P. Diddy. We knew that P. Diddy has been a creeper for a long time.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, Harvey Weinstein is another one.
Yes.
So, and I'm not comparing this situation to those, but I don't think Garth has ever been accused of something like this before, has he?
I've never heard
Like, I
of
don't know if anybody has ever called out Garth Brooks for being a creeper or a rapist or a sexual predator. I mean, I've never heard that about Garth Brooks, and maybe I'm naive and I'm just so caught up in my political world that I pay very little attention to Garth Brooks.
Well, Music Row is a very, it's very much a gossipy area, and I've never heard anything like that about him.
The woman also says that in 2019, she was at Brooks's home and he had appeared naked in front of her again and grabbed her hands and put them
there.
Yeah. So I'm looking to see in this story whether the police were called, whether this woman has gone to any psychotherapy, if she's had to have any counseling, and I don't see anything like that in the story.
By the way, this is from NPR. Brooks filed a federal lawsuit against the woman last month, claiming she is trying to extort him for money and defame his character in response to him not making her a salaried employee or paying for medical benefits.
There you go. There you go. Now, I will say this, with all the money that dude makes, and if she's doing full-time work, he should give her full-time benefits.
Exactly.
But that doesn't excuse extortion.
No.
Clearly. So
This is what happens when your friends... What's the song? Friends in Low Places?
Yeah, Friends in Low Places.
Yeah.
You know, it's so funny. I saw
messed
a
up my own
billboard.
line.
I saw a billboard coming in this morning. It was Garth and Trisha.
Yeah.
And
Trisha
it
their
said
bar.
Friends in Low Places. And I
Yeah.
said, yeah, he sure does. All right. 5:53, Nashville's Morning News. And Joan Jones has the news coming up at 6.
Got Got some new information for you on just how long I-40 is going to be shut down. Also, we'll tell you what could move Wall Street big time today. Those stories coming up at 6 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.558, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. By the way, people on the Super Text line saying, but Dan, don't you know that toilet paper is made here in America? I know that. That wasn't the point of the bit. To be honest, I don't know if there was a point to that bit. But anyway, yeah, I know. Toilet paper is made here in America. It's not imported. The point we were making is that all
Dan
these
likes
people
to go to the bathroom outside.
that also not the point of the bit, Joan.
He enjoys using his hose.
Yeah.
Also not the point of the bit. The point of the bit was that people keep buying hordes and hordes of toilet paper when they don't need to, and that's dumb. That was the point of the bit. Anyway, 5:58, Nashville's Morning News on WTN.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Good morning, 6 o'clock now, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Want to let you know that in Antioch on Murfreesboro Pike at Hamilton Church Road, a crash involving injuries. That'll slow things down more in traffic and with weather coming up in just a couple of minutes. New this morning, at least 215 people have died as a result of the destruction wrought by Hurricane Helene since it made landfall in Florida a week ago. More than half of those deaths were in North Carolina alone. The death toll in Tennessee is unchanged this morning. It's still at 11. Interstate 40 between Tennessee and North Carolina will be closed indefinitely. The roadway needs to be rebuilt after being completely washed out by Hurricane Helene. Here's Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, who's blaming everything on climate change.
It may be that the newly reconstructed road or bridge will look a little bit differently than the one that it replaced because the reality is we have to build for a new normal here in terms of the extreme weather in this country.
Now, for now, drivers will need to take I-81 north into Virginia and then make their way down into North Carolina on I-77. I want to tell you about a long-term road closure, too, that's set to begin around here. It begins tonight in Davidson County. Holt Road from Nolensville Pike to Edmondson Pike. It'll be closed for a road widening project. The road won't reopen until the summer of 2025. When police busted a house party in Cheatham County, they found several Nashville felons, two of whom were out on bond for murder or attempted murder. One of them was wearing an ankle monitor. Police say there was drugs, alcohol, and firearms inside the house. Police tell News 2 that this case points out the dangers of granting bond to some violent offenders. The Labor Department is set to release September's jobs report today. ABC's Mike Dubosky has a preview.
Economists are expecting September's jobs picture to look largely the same as the month prior, with hiring down a bit, but average wages slightly higher. Dow Jones consensus says the unemployment rate, meanwhile, will hold steady. It's currently at 4.2%. That would give the Federal Reserve more reason to continue a slow reduction in interest rates.
Market numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Everything's pointing up now. Dow futures up 20, NASDAQ up 64, S&P futures gaining 11. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Still got that crash in Antioch on Murfreesboro Pike at Hamilton Church Road. It involves injuries. That'll cause some delays this morning. Also, if you're traveling the I-40 South Loop, watch at the westbound off-ramp to southbound I-65. Just one lane. The right lane is blocked there because of road work, and that'll cause some big delays again today. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Information fueled,
opinion driven. This is Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
we talk news.
Welcome on into Nashville's Morning News. It is 6:07. Dan Mandis here, along with Johnny B. Joan Jones as well. For your Friday, it is October 4th. Hurricane Helene, the recovery there does continue. Some people will say no help from FEMA. Others will say FEMA was a lot of help. But Donald Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, of course, he was in Damascus, Virginia yesterday, and he was out there, and he was surveying the flood damage.
I know that, we're of course in the middle of a political campaign. I think that one thing I've heard consistently from the governor is that FEMA has provided a lot of resources, and of course we're very grateful to that. But I also think that talking to people just on the ground today, but also talking to the governor, this is a community that has long been left behind by the leadership of this country. People who have been forgotten, people who have been ignored, people who have been judged, despite the fact that they are the nicest people in the world.
Well, he is right. He's talking about, I'm going to expand that to rural communities by and large, because J.D. Vance is right. And, of course, we have seen and we have heard stories of folks who have clearly been left high and dry by the Biden administration, like in Western North Carolina. Now, in the last couple of days, we here on WTN have drawn attention to Steve, who called the Murphy Show a couple of days ago, former Tennessean, former Nashvilleian, and he moved to Western North Carolina near Asheville, and he said, listen, that area has been decimated.
I guess we felt like we had been forgotten. The sense of isolation was just unreal for everybody. It's just like we just got squashed.
Yeah, and a lot of people are saying that FEMA and the Biden administration, Kamala Harris, not really helping the people in these rural communities, whether we're talking about East Tennessee, whether we're talking about Western North Carolina, counties in Georgia as well. So there's a difference between what we're seeing on the ground from people on social media and what we're seeing from, the press releases from FEMA and the Biden administration. Now, there's a number of things going on related to this story. The sheer number of dead is over 200. The story out of Eastern Tennessee, where that plastics company is accused of holding their employees as inside as the floodwaters raged, and some did end up dying. A place called Impact Plastics. Now, that investigation does continue, and Impact Plastics is denying all of those allegations, but people are accusing FEMA of confiscating donations and equipment from the locals trying to help. Governor Lee and others have said that is simply not true. People on the ground are saying it is. I have no idea. People will say literally anything on social media to get some clicks. But what is certainly not under debate is that people are feeling forgotten.
Literally, I'm just crying for my people. Like, how could the government do us like this? And how could the whole country just forget about us? Like, it's not enough. What is being done is not enough. I mean, there are entire communities that have been just decimated. Where is our government?
I mean, this is a guy from Western North Carolina sitting in his car waiting for help that Joan has yet to come.
That made me well up. He's so emotional. Oh, my goodness.
Well, he is, and he says that he is a Kamala supporter, but he is horrified at the lack of assistance. I would tell this guy that elections have consequences.
I mean, for Kamala, and I am an avid supporter for her to stand in Florida today and make a statement. Where is our government? Where's the president? Where's that?
I mean, listen, she got out there. Don't worry. Kamala's got $750 for you.
That total... That makes me infuriated.
Yeah.
$750?
$750.
What is that? In this time where we can't even buy an egg for less than $3?
That's exactly right.
It's amazing.
Locals in Western North Carolina, when asked about the federal response, their answer is basically, what response? Now, if you're angry at that, Joan, did you hear what Joe Biden said last night? When he was asked about what the states in the storm zone needed. Listen to this. You got to listen close.
Okay. What do the states in the storm zone need, Mr. President? Okay. What do the states in the storm zone, what do they need after what you saw today?
Oh, in the storm zone?
Yes, sir.
I'm wondering what storm you're talking about. They're getting everything they need. And they're very happy across the board.
Wow. What? So Joe Biden actually said that everybody is just really happy.
They're getting everything they need. They're very happy across the board.
Everybody's getting all they need, Joan. Everybody's very happy.
Across the board.
I
Really?
was stunned to hear him say, what storm?
I know.
Are you kidding?
That makes me so angry.
This is Joe Biden, and people are reacting to his comments.
And I'm so mad. Like, I just want to scream.
Yeah. Now, here's what I'm seeing. People on social media saying that they have been abandoned by the federal government and by FEMA, perhaps state agencies as well. No one is helping. No federal response. So we have hurricane victims and those that are trying to help. And they are saying that FEMA is getting in the way. Now, all of these people are posting on the socials. They're being interviewed by various media outlets and also content creators as well about what is happening on the ground.
They're in the way. They are directly interrupting our ability to conduct missions and operations. I went to put a couple of people into a hotel last night, and they have a security guard at the hotel. And they said, "Oh, we're so sorry. The entire hotel has been booked for federal employees." And I was like, no, I have people that would just pull it out of a mountain that are living out in the hills, and there's not a place for me to put them because we have federal employees that are staying in the hotel. I slept in this white car last night. I smell like foot and death right now, as does every single person on our team.
So the socials are incredibly active. People are trying to help, but they say that they can't because the government seems to getting in the way. But the problem is the government's not doing anything, like this guy said yesterday.
Oh, there's one small FEMA trailer with no personnel and no supplies in it. What there is lines of private planes that have landed and are taking off that have dropped off supplies and personnel. See, America is responding. The government is telling us there's no way to get in, but America's not listening. And
so you have FEMA with their press releases. You've got Kamala Harris, of course, and she's reading her press releases and doling out $750. And Joe Biden, he says everything's fine.
They're getting everything they need. They're very happy across the board.
So it seems like you've got Biden saying what he's saying, Kamala Harris saying what he's saying. We had Tim Burchett, I guess, was on with Murphy Show yesterday. He was giving FEMA some props. So I think maybe this could be regional. I don't know if FEMA's doing a good job or not. It doesn't seem to me like they are, but, you know, Tim Burchett and some other folks will tell you that, you know, they are. Others will tell you that they're not. I don't know. By the way, there has not been, as far as I know, any real actual evidence that FEMA is confiscating donations. I also don't know anything about that either. Realize, friends, that people will say anything for social media engagement. People will say anything for clicks. They really will. And so you see these things all the time where people are like, watch this, I'm going to make these allegations against FEMA and I'm going to get a bunch of followers, right? People do that. People do that. But you can't deny that there's some really dumb things that have been said. For example, Pete Buttigieg.
Our goal is to make sure that funding is no obstacle to very quickly getting people the relief that they need and deserve.
So $750 apparently, according to the federal government.
There's also some safety issues that come up. For example, temporary flight restrictions to make sure that the airspace is clear for any flights or drone activity that might be involved in helping to allow those emergency responders to do their job.
So Mayor Pete, as transportation secretary, is telling people who are using their drones to find people that have been abandoned by the federal government and are not able to be found. People are using their drones, and now you have Pete Buttigieg telling folks, don't use your drones to try to find people because they want to, keep the airspace, I guess, unrestricted for military aircraft and so forth. But the problem is they're not doing that. They're not sending up drones. They wouldn't even send up drones to patrol an area that Donald Trump is playing golf in or making an appearance in. You think they're actually smart enough to use drones to try to find people that are trapped by mud and floodwaters? And so everyday Americans are using their drones to try to help find people that are desperate. And the transportation secretary says, don't use your drones because we're on the job. Well, apparently, according to people on the ground, you're not doing your job and you're preventing others from doing their job of trying to find people to help. So this is what the government is doing or not doing. Running late for traffic, 6:16, time to check the roads on WTN. .617, partly cloudy today, a high of 86. Sunny this weekend, highs in the upper 80s as well. Appreciate you listening. 65 at WTN. So, yeah, Mayor Pete telling people, ground your drones. Don't try to find people on your own because we're on the job, but it doesn't seem like they are on the job. So that's also part of the equation here. The governor of Georgia, of course, Brian Kemp, I played this audio the other day, dismayed that President Biden didn't immediately approve disaster zones for impacted areas in the state of Georgia.
When the first emergency declarations came down, there was only 11 counties in that. A lot of people were outraged, including me, because there was such devastation in up to 90 counties. So we called the White House. We spoke to the president's chief of staff, the FEMA administrator, and said, look, you're sending the signal that you're not paying attention to some of these rural communities.
Well, they're not paying attention to the rural communities. We've gone over this, the last several days where, you've got Elon Musk and Robbie Starbuck saving the day by getting those Starlink devices to these really hard-hit areas, and that's a good thing. When the government doesn't respond, according to many people on the ground, then great Americans stand up and help. And I've been playing you the audio of these folks saying that FEMA simply is not there. Their state authorities simply aren't there. It sounds like Tennessee may be doing their jobs and is doing their jobs. It sounds like really the big problem is in North Carolina. People, again, who are impacted with all of this, all they're getting is $750 in immediate relief. Of course, we all know the soundbite from Kamala Harris.
And the federal relief and assistance that we have been providing has included FEMA providing $750 for folks who need immediate needs being met, such as food, baby formula, and the like. And you can apply now for anyone who's watching this who has been affected.
Right. Apply now with no internet unless you can get on the internet with Elon Musk and his devices. So it is rather ridiculous. And you're talking about $750. You've got Ukraine, $175 billion this year. Illegal aliens have also received $640 million. It really is insanity.
And free hotel rooms, by the way.
And free hotel rooms, by the way, Johnny. Of course, you're absolutely right. Competence does matter. Now, this is going viral, as it should, on the World Wide Web. It is the tale of two catastrophes with Alejandro Mayorkas.
FEMA is going to be playing a pivotal role in our shelter and services program that is poised to distribute $363 million to cities and communities in need of funding.
We do not have the funds. FEMA does not have the funds to make it through the season.
So you've got Mayorkas talking about how they're going to give at that moment $363 million dealing with illegal aliens. Yet cut number two is where he says FEMA does not have the money to make it through hurricane season. So this is where social media really matters. And this is, I believe, this is how elections will be turned. By moments like this and videos like this that, by the way, are not taken out of context. If anything, it doesn't have enough context because in that audio bite, you've got Alejandro Mayorkas talking about illegal aliens at one moment in time. But they should also be putting in there all of the money that our government is sending to Ukraine because, to me, again, that is also a big part of the conversation. So I've tweeted this out. I've put this on my X feed at Dan Mandis Show.
FEMA is going to be playing a pivotal role in our shelter and services program that is poised to distribute $363 million to cities and communities in need of funding.
We do not have the funds. FEMA does not have the funds to make it through the season.
Can you imagine right now we are supporting a war a world away with Ukraine, with all kinds of equipment being shipped and bought and manufactured, logistics and all of these other things. But we can't get to these folks in North Carolina the help that they need. And again, as we discussed yesterday, and I'm mentioning right now, FEMA needs more money because all of that money has gone to Ukraine and the illegals. It is unflippin' believable. 623. Again, competency matters and elections have consequences. Joan Jones, what's coming up in the news?
Well, we've got the latest from the scene in North Carolina and in East Tennessee regarding the cleanup of Hurricane Helene. Also, We'll tell you about one thing that has been stirred up and is making a real mess in that area this morning and why health officials are responding to it. That's all coming up at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. By the way, coming up at 6:36, Jonathan Fahey is going to be joining us. They're going to be talking about Donald Trump, the Democrats, the DOJ, Lawfare, and how, in my opinion, we are watching right now as the Democrats try to use Lawfare to steal this election in what some are calling an October surprise. It is 6:23 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Friends, it is October, and that means that Halloween is just a few weeks away, and Busy Bee is celebrating by giving you some great deals on your HVAC and plumbing. Now, they are your Rude Pro partners, and yes, they are giving you 50% off of furnace inspection and 20% off of any furnace repair work at the time of service when you call them and mention WTN and Dan Mandis. How about $300 off of an ultraviolet home treatment system installation? Now, that is huge. Now, remember as well, I'm a Beehive Club member. You should be as well. As a Beehive member, you'll receive 3 annual tune-ups, 1 cooling, 1 heating, and 1 plumbing as well. 10% discount on all repairs, priority front-of-the-line service, no overtime or holiday charges, and so much more, all for as little as $99. So, yes, when you become a member of the Beehive Club, it is really worth it because of all of those benefits. I've been a Beehive member for 10 years now. For satisfaction guaranteed, call Busy Bee HVAC. They are your Rude Pro partner, 615-775-7833, busybeehvac.com. Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
I started work in the early 60s, and Tennessee had a deer stalking program already in place going, primarily from Clarksville base within the Fort Campbell area. From that area, a lot of deer were stalked in Middle and West Tennessee, and then later on, we started taking deer from those areas and stalking other areas. So it was a progression. It moved pretty fast. The deer sometimes were faster than the stalkers were.
I bet that was pretty exciting, trying to trap those deer and move them and know that you're making a huge impact.
Well, we wasn't all that confident.
Oh, really?
Because a lot of the counties had dog problems. You know, they'd be wanting to dog the deer, and it didn't hold up under that kind of pressure. And we had to go back in and restock. And there was a lot of different types of law enforcement work that had to be done.
I hear you.
And the officers did a good job. And we talked to a lot of the judges, and they clamped down pretty hard on somebody poaching deer out there. Back then, we only put out 15 or 20 deer. It was critical. In fact, at that time, it could cost you your truck.
Yeah. It's an amazing success story. You hear folks saying, well, we didn't see a deer when I was a kid, and now you just have to walk out your back door and you got in a subdivision grazing or driving down the interstate highways or whatever, you see a deer just about every day.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder if we're too efficient.
Some folks say back in the good old days, but I don't know. Right now, hunting and fishing is really good.
Good morning. It's now 6:30 here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Got your full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. The number of people who have died across the 6 states hit hardest by Hurricane Helene is now at 215. Here in Tennessee, that number still stands at 11, unchanged from yesterday. TEMA says the rumors going around social media that say donations are being stolen or not being accepted simply are not true. TEMA officials are advising people to coordinate with organizations who are making trips to East Tennessee to drop off those donations. Bristol Motor Speedway announced that all donations can be dropped off there, and then they'll be sent out to people in need all over East Tennessee. Meantime, Congressman Tim Burchett on WTN's Matt Murphy show yesterday weighed in on rumors that TEMA is seizing those donations.
That is just not true. They have no apparatus to do that. And I keep saying, show me the specifics. Show me where this is happening, not some internet story that their third cousin told them. And, and I can't speak for the military. That's a different thing. But TEMA, they're Tennesseans, folks.
Now, as if things aren't bad enough in Western North Carolina, health officials there are busy trying to distribute Benadryl and EpiPens because the flooding stirred up colonies of yellow jackets. Now, yellow jackets home in underground nests or in trees and tree stumps. Experts say yellow jackets are generally more aggressive than bees, and they are able to sting people more than once. An 18-year-old from Texas was busted at a Greyhound bus station in Nashville yesterday. Metro Nashville police say Ivan Corrales was transporting 10,000 pills containing fentanyl in his carry-on bag. He was booked into jail on $75,000 bond and charged with multiple counts. Market numbers now brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Stock futures this morning pointing upward. The Dow futures up 56, NASDAQ up 74, S&P 500 index plus 15. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. 6:33. Dan Mandis here for Window Nation. This is my window company. I love these folks. They put new windows in my basement studio, my bedroom, and my kitchen as well. Now, right now, prime window buying season, at least I would think, because the weather is about to turn cold. So if your windows are going to allow the warm air out and the cold air in, then you need to act right now. Window Nation is looking out for you with a great special going on right now. You're going to buy 2 windows, get 2 free, plus pay nothing with no interest for 2 full years. That is a great deal. You know, Window Nation, they've got over 33,000 5-star reviews on Google. That's right, and a big 5-star review from my house. Now, your new windows can be installed in a day or less, and they do come with a lifetime warranty. Now, don't forget that great deal, the Dan deal. You're going to buy 2 windows, get 2 free, plus pay nothing with no interest for 2 full years. That, again, is a great deal. So you want to keep the cold air out and the warm air in this winter. You do that by calling Window Nation, 866-90-NATION, 866-WINDOW-NATION, 866-90-WINDOW-NATION, windownation.com.
Got a couple of trouble spots now in Laverne. A crash on 24 westbound. It's just past Waldron Road, exit 64. Stop and go traffic around that area. South Loop, a crash on I-40 westbound before the I-65 South interchange. That's exit 210B. The crash there blocking the right shoulder. And still working that crash in the Antioch on Murfreesboro Pike at Hamilton Church Road. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
637, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm sorry, I spent part of the break trying to get through Bruce Springsteen's endorsement of Kamala Harris.
Oh.
What a brilliant man, huh?
Man. You think somewhere within the Harris campaign, they're saying, Bruce, we're good, man, thanks.
They should have been. I love when he called him a narcissist, called Trump a narcissist.
Oh, I know. The guy just...
And I'm thinking, Bruce, you call yourself the boss. Let's talk narcissism, shall we?
That's exactly right. Jonathan Fahey is joining us on the Newsmaker Hotline. Of course, used to work within the Trump administration and used to be the head of ICE and so many other things. Jonathan, always great to have you on. Folks may see you on Maria Bartiromo's show. They're on Fox Business a couple of times a week. Thank you for making time for us here in Nashville. So a couple of things. Number one, I know that this is going to be a very big deal for so many people. The shocking announcement that Bruce Springsteen is supporting Kamala Harris.
Yeah, that seems like it's a game changer. It's as good as the Robert De Niro and all these other celebrities. It's kind of funny that I don't think this works. I mean, maybe it persuades some people, but it probably persuades a lot of people the other way, because it's like one of the things I think you can see with Kamala Harris and the Democratic Party, they are so out of touch with sort of the regular Americans or sort of middle class or whatever you want to call them, and then always bringing out these people that are not living the same or even a similar life to other people.
But Jonathan, I've got to stop you. Bruce Springsteen was wearing flannel, and he was in a diner.
Oh, yeah.
So, come on. Yeah. All right. You know,
he's relatable.
Yeah, the last thing I'll say about this, and then I'll talk about more important things, is whenever I see like a Bruce Springsteen or what have you talking about their political viewpoints, and by the way, this is their right as an American, and it is my right to comment on it. I do think of the meme of a dog going number 2, and the meme says just downloading some celebrity opinions. And every time I hear these folks talk, that is what I think about. Jonathan, let's talk about Lawfare. Of course, this is big news the last couple of days. You and I have actually been talking about this for a long time. As you know, you have now the Biden administration, the DOJ, Jack Smith, coming out with new indictments for Donald Trump related to January 6th. And as you and I have spoken about before, we all know, right, the Supreme Court came out. They said that Donald Trump had immunity in most things related to January 6th, presidential immunity. So Jack Smith comes back and he reworks his indictment and basically converts it to show that Donald Trump acted, I guess, as a private citizen. Then he turns that over to the judge, Tanya Chutkan, and then Chutkan releases it so that everybody can see it. And people are like, oh, my God, these are shocking and horrifying allegations. And basically, one of the things that it says is that Donald Trump said that he didn't care if Mike Pence was put in danger. Now, of course, these are all based on anonymous sources as well. Anyway, the bottom line is, what are your thoughts on all of this?
My thoughts are, and we talked about this before, is there was no reason for Jack Smith to even have to file this before the election. After the Supreme Court ruling, the ruling came out like June, but the mandate, which basically sends it back to the judge, I think came back at the end of August. And he could have easily, said, let's wait until after the election just so that there's no political implications or bias, things that might bias people. And that's generally the DOJ policy. So my first thought is they didn't need to file anything at all until later. And it's funny how much Merrick Garland will protest when anyone accuses him or suggests there's any political bias in any of these cases, yet everything they do, it's like if there's no political bias, are they just pretending or doing everything they can to make it seem biased? Because they didn't have to file this. The other thing that's interesting is they filed it under seal, and typically in a high-profile case or anything else, a judge is going to be sensitive about a jury pool being contaminated by, the press or other things. So she could have kept this thing under seal. There was no judges have inherent authority to seal items that they, might, endanger the public or endanger a particular person or prevent somebody from getting a fair trial. So it's just interesting she releases it 2 days or a day after, Tim Walz. I mean, I don't even know what you could possibly say about that debate, but it was abysmal. And it's like, it's a good way to change the subject from Tim Walz, from this hurricane that their handling of it is terrible at this point. And it's just interesting that every time there's something that comes out bad about Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, or anything else, it's like, oh, here comes just some random legal, something in one of these cases drops just coincidentally.
Well, and it's interesting, too, because you got people trying to say, oh, this is an October surprise. Folks, this was no surprise. Tanya Chutkan is trying to influence the election. That is clearly what this judge is trying to do. And I read this thing. You'll love this, Jonathan Fahey. By the way, federal prosecutor for many years as well. You'll love this. So I actually saw an opinion piece, and I forget who wrote it, and it doesn't really matter, but he was saying, well, the DOJ, they're not trying to influence the election. Jack Smith isn't trying to influence the election. The DOJ, they're not the ones that released it. It was the judge that actually released it. And it's like, oh, please. There's clearly a coordinated effort.
Yeah, and also my point is they didn't have to file it. They could have waited. So that's their move, is putting it out there and knowing that, other outside entities will be pushing to get it unsealed. They could have just said, we're waiting till November 7th and we'll do our filing then, because we don't want any, not even because part of being a prosecutor, you need to be fair and impartial, but you also want the appearance for a judge and for a prosecutor of being impartial as well. So they lost that part of it right out of the gate. And it's just like, why not just wait? There's no reason. This case, like we talked about, cannot be tried for a long time because they're going to move to dismiss, meaning Trump, on the immunity issue. If Trump loses, he appeals. If the government loses, they appeal. So this thing is not like, hey, there's this right for a speedy trial, or the public, has this interest and it's about to go to trial. It's not going to trial anytime soon, I guess, ever.
I think like yesterday, CNN had like a 5-panel person talking about this breathless reporting. And I think what they're trying to do is just remind everybody about January 6th. They're trying to regurgitate that commentary yet again. And quite frankly, I just don't believe that anybody cares. More with Jonathan Fahey is coming up. 6:45, time to check the roads on WTN. .45 on Nashville's Morning News. Partly cloudy today, a high of 86. Sunny this weekend with highs in the upper 80s, 65 degrees now at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Jonathan Fahey is joining us. Jonathan, I want to play for you an audio bite, and I want to tell you this is why I believe that social media is so critically important these days to a political career.
I know what a crime looks like. An undocumented immigrant is not a criminal.
2 Venezuelan migrants are under arrest in Houston, charged with murdering 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungaray.
I know what a crime looks like. And I will tell you, an undocumented immigrant is not a criminal.
Days ago, another undocumented immigrant from Ecuador was arrested in New York City, accused of raping a 13-year-old girl.
I mean, this goes on, Jonathan, for, I think it's about a minute and a half, 2 minutes. This has been seen 13 million times on social media. And obviously what it's doing is it's pointing out the absurdity of Kamala Harris as the borders are letting all of these people in. And now we have seen, of course, the horrific crimes that they have committed. How important do you think this is going to be in the election?
I think it's a huge issue, and I hope the Trump campaign keeps pushing these, pushing the crimes, pushing the real stories. But I think most people are so fed up with this because they either see it directly impacting their communities in terms of overcrowded schools, or they see it just these criminal events that might be near them, or they hear about them and it scares them, and it should. And this idea that it's not a crime, it actually is a federal crime to enter this country illegally.
Yes.
So that's the amazing thing about it. It's like, no, a crime isn't what looks like a crime. A crime is actually what's been passed by the legislative body, whether it's a state or the Congress, and signed by the president, governor, or whatever. That's what a crime is. A crime isn't what you kind of look at it or what it feels like or anything else. And it's just utter and complete nonsense. And it's an insult to the American people when you see this stuff. And you know what's interesting, that just real quick on the debate with Tim Walz, here's the new media narrative. They're saying, will you mass deport all of these people, right? Take a kid from their mom and deport the kid or whatever, just crazy stuff. But they never, ever ask the other side of the coin, which is we have had millions and millions of people falsely claim asylum. We know 90% of them plus will not qualify. That means millions of people won't qualify. Are you saying you're going to still let them stay? And if that's the case, then why are we going through this charade of asylum hearings and everything else? They never ask the converse, which is like, who gets deported? Because the current state of this administration is not even the most serious criminals, absent extraordinary circumstances, get deported. So they never ask the other side of the coin, which it's a liberal media trick, right?
Yep.
But it's so frustrating.
So we've seen the polling. I think last time you and I spoke, Jonathan, it was last week. But, I've been talking about, weeks ago, I was talking about how with Kamala Harris and wanting to go to the border, challenging Trump to another debate, it was clear there was some internal polling that they were seeing. And sure enough, in the days and weeks that followed, we do see now the actual polling that is out there. And people, these pollsters are saying, and these polls are saying that Donald Trump has momentum. And he is doing better now in the battleground states. And Trump is taking a lead. There's one Daily Mail poll that showed that following the debate, Donald Trump lost, Kamala Harris lost about a percentage point because of the really poor showing of J.D. Vance. And so I guess my question is twofold, and if you could keep it to about a minute, how important was that debate to help Donald Trump and hurt Kamala Harris? Because some in the media are saying, oh, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, it's important, and when they say it's not a big deal, but if it's 1 point, like you said, that's a big deal in this election, and it was so horrendous. And I think one of the things for Kamala Harris is everyone kind of recognizes on both sides that she's by and large incompetent. So the Tim Walz pick was at least to give people reassurance that we have somebody that knows what they're doing that will be part of this administration. And I've never seen anything as abysmal as that. And even he, when he's saying I'm a knucklehead or whatever, he's basically resorted to, I'm just sort of a harmless idiot as the vice president. That's basically what he's saying. He's the standard guy in a commercial these days, right? And it's like, that's not good enough. And I think, it's going to make a difference because it shows her decision-making versus Trump's. And, J.D. Vance, I've never seen anything like it. It's like one of the worst debate performances from Walz, but probably one of the best, if not the best, I've ever seen on Vance's end.
Yeah, and you got people out there early on. Remember, the narrative was over the past 6 months or so, or whatever it's been, Donald Trump has regretted choosing J.D. Vance as a running mate. Here's my prediction. I think that if Donald Trump wins, and I do believe that he's got some wind in his sails, Trump wins, J.D. Vance, based on what we've seen so far of J.D. Vance and his not only embracing of mega values, but also his ability to communicate those ideas, I could see J.D. Vance for a couple of terms after Donald Trump ends his second term. If Donald Trump wins, I see 8 years of J.D. Vance. I do, because I believe that he's a great communicator, and I believe that Donald Trump will have a successful second term if they allow him to. We've got about 30 seconds left. What's going to happen in the next 32 days?
I think the hurricane is a huge issue, which will still remain an issue, and if this administration continues its ineptitude, that's going to really, really harm them, although how will some of these people vote? And the other thing is, I think what's going on in the Middle East is also another wild card because, that's also a disaster for this administration. So that continues or escalates. That's a bad thing. And who knows what if there'll be this, October surprise type of things. But I think those are the two driving issues in addition to the other issues, economy, immigration, and everything else.
All right. Jonathan Fahey, always great to have you on. Looking forward to having you on again very soon at 6:52. Hey, get your phones ready. And get ready to call 615-737-9986. I'm going to want your opinion on something coming. I always want your opinion, but I'm going to take calls. here in the 7 o'clock hour. So 7:06, I'm going to tell you a story, and I want to know what you think about it. So get your dialing fingers ready. 6:50. I was a terrible DJ. I think we all can. Based on the last 15 seconds, I think it's pretty obvious I was a bad DJ. Anyway,
You make a fine talk show host.
sure.
Yeah.
Some may vehemently disagree with you, but anyway, what's coming up?
Dock workers are back on the dock today, and 3 Memphis police officers found guilty in the Tyree Nichols case. Those stories coming up at 7 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Jones. 6:53. Dan Mandis here with a question for you. If your roof was destroyed in a storm, how much of that replacement cost would your insurance company cover? Now, if you don't know, you really do need to ask because some insurance companies refuse to pay full replacement cost. They're going to deduct money for an older roof. Now, this means that the insurance company will depreciate how much they pay for your roof claim. Older roof, they're going to pay you less. That could leave you on the hook for thousands of dollars. Now, my friends at King and Associates Insurance, they will pay full replacement cost. So whether you have to replace a 10-year-old roof or a 2-year-old roof, they do pay for it to be replaced, period. We call that a good focus on customer service. That does make King and Associates Insurance one of the best insurance companies around. 615-329-8121, 615-329-8121. Get your world review, tkinginsurance.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Good morning, 7 o'clock now, and I'm Joan Jones with the latest news. Watch it this morning in Antioch. Murfreesboro Pike is blocked. It's between Hamilton Church and Morris Gentry Boulevard because of a crash. We're headed up to 87 later today. The full forecast and traffic still to come. The strike by 45,000 dock workers at East and Gulf Coast ports has now been suspended. There's an agreement on wages, but nothing else. Still, that 62% increase was enough to get workers to return to their jobs.
It's a tentative agreement up until January 15th, but what this means for the dock workers is higher pay. What it means for you and me, it means that when we order something online from overseas, it will be delivered in time, not only for this week, next week, but also for the holiday season. And it was a celebratory mood here at the dock as those dock workers, thousands of them, are back on the job.
Reagan Medji there at the Port Newark Elizabeth Marine Terminal in New Jersey. A mixed verdict for 3 Memphis police officers in the 2023 fatal beating death of Tyree Nichols during a traffic stop.
Jurors returning with a mixed verdict for former officers Tadarius Bean, Demetrius Haley, and Justin Smith. All were convicted of witness tampering related to the cover-up of the beating, but Bean and Smith were acquitted of civil rights charges. Haley was acquitted of violating Nichols' civil rights causing death, but convicted of the lesser charge of violating his civil rights causing bodily injury. He was also convicted on a conspiracy to witness tamper charge that the others were acquitted of.
That's ABC's Stephanie Ramos reporting. Well, stock futures this morning are pointing up. Wall Street is awaiting the September jobs report that's due out in just about a half hour. Right now, Dow futures are up 78 points. The NASDAQ futures are gaining 78 as well. And the S&P 500 futures are up 17 points. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Things are blocked off in Antioch this morning. Murfreesboro Pike, it's between Hamilton Church Road and Morris Gentry Boulevard. It's blocked because of a crash near the in-town suites area. And in Hendersonville this morning, a crash involving a dump truck and a pickup truck, and it's caused some delays as well. Vietnam Veterans Boulevard eastbound at Gallatin Pike, that's exit 3. Just the right shoulder is open in that area. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Information fueled, opinion driven. This is Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
we talk news.
7:07, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. 7:35, Congressman Scott Desjardins will be joining us. One of the things that I love about this show is, number one, by and large, they let me do what I want. And number two, I really like talking to you folks. And so I received a note, and I immediately thought, I wonder what the listeners of WTN would say to this. Because it's a unique situation, I believe, but one that we can all relate to. So here's the note that I got, and I want your opinion on this. And so when you hear me give the phone numbers, call and tell me what your advice would be to this person. He says, I've been going back and forth for several weeks now with a friend. He says that he used to be a Donald Trump supporter, but now he says that Donald Trump lies all the time and that he is evil. He has messaged me so much information, he says, that I cannot keep up. Now, up to this point, I have been doing pretty good at combating some of the things that he has sent to me, but I would like your input, Dan, if you are willing to help me. The friend sends me articles and videos that show Kamala Harris as a wonderful and hardworking public servant who has done nothing wrong in all of her years. This friend also accuses Donald Trump of saying awful things, like wanting to overthrow the government and wanting to engage in a plot similar to the purge, among other things. Guy says, I listen as often as I can to WTN. There's so much information that is hard to keep it all straight. He says, any help that you can give me in giving my friend to correct information would be greatly appreciated. Guy's name is Tom. He's asking for my advice. I want to ask your advice. 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. The phone lines are open. Because I think that this is something that, you know, we all have our stories, and I don't want to turn it into the stories about how people have disconnected from us. We've all had that happen to us. In this instance, you've got somebody who is trying to deal with a friend who was a Donald Trump supporter and now is not. And is really, it seems to me, like this friend is bullying our friend Tom and not accepting the fact that Tom, just simply put, has a different political opinion. And so it seems to me there's a number of things that you can do in this situation. You can, number one, try and correct the erroneous, political proclivities of your friend and try to correct the erroneous information that your now Democrat friend has. That's number one. You can argue with somebody, or you can just say, you know what? This isn't worth it. So I'm asking you, what would you do if this was you? And maybe this has been you, and maybe it's a family member. But how would you deal with this? 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. What is your advice for Tom? Let's say hello to Larry in Clarksville on WTN. Larry, go ahead.
Good morning, Dan. Thanks for taking my call. And Tom, first of all, you can't fix
stupid. If your friend can't look and see everything that Kamala is still lying about and what this administration has done to our country, you can't fix that. And I have been in that situation with family members, and it's just not worth it, because you can't fix stupid.
Yeah, you know what? I would say, and Larry, I really appreciate the call. Number one, you can't fix stupid. But number two, it's like you could spend all your days sending links. And I thought about sending Tom a bunch of links. Here, say this and say this and say this. But the question is, does it really matter? Brian is on line 2 on WTN. Hey, Brian, go ahead.
Hey, Dan. Thanks for taking my call. Love the show, by the way.
Thank you.
I agree with the first caller. You cannot fix stupid. If it feels like that you can't get through your friend, then I would stop engaging with him and just do what you want to do and believe what in your heart you're going to vote for Trump, and just go to the voting box and do your thing, and he'll have to find out the hard way when it comes to how's he going to pay his bills, how's he, if he, someone robs him, or they take away his guns, or
and Brian, what's interesting, and I appreciate the call. What's interesting is that, again, we've all been in these situations, but Tom is in this particular situation that I find really interesting, which is, how far do you go to try to save a friendship? I mean, to me, that's the bottom line. How far do you go to try and save a friendship? Another Larry, line 3 on WTN. Hey, go ahead, Larry.
Yes, here's my advice to you. This guy is seeking advice from you, which means he gives you some degree of credibility.
Crazy, right?
But he's not believing you. Now, I'm going to give you some advice on improving your credibility.
Okay.
Number one, when you do commercials, I think that payola is still illegal.
Larry,
Larry,
you trust me, Larry, when I say, number one, I don't need your advice. And if you wanted to play nice, that was fine. However, clearly, Larry, you're not wanting to play nice, and so I'll give it right back to you. Trust me when I say this radio station has hundreds of lawyers. And if I wanted to engage in payola, I wouldn't be able to get away with it. And thanks for your call, Larry. Daniel is on WTN line 4. Go ahead, Daniel.
Good morning, Dan. Thanks for taking the call, man.
Yes, sir.
I know the FDA has not approved any sort of medication for Trump derangement syndrome, and I just feel that I don't want to make too harsh a light of or poke fun at mental illness, because it's not something to make fun of, but I do believe Trump derangement syndrome is an illness, and there's the only thing for right now I feel that can fix it is Jesus. So I believe you said his name was Tom.
Mm-hmm.
I think Tom just needs to pray for him and disconnect himself when it comes to political talk. And if his friend, being closed-minded and wants to go on the attack, will not disengage from political talk, then maybe the friendship needs to end.
All right, Daniel, thank you very much for the call. Mitchell is in Dixon on WTN. Hey, Mitchell.
Good morning.
Good morning. Go ahead, sir.
I would tell Tom, and I've been in this situation several times, political and religious. Tom, tell your friend that a mind is a powerful thing, and it'll help you find things even when they're not there. And that's what his friend is doing. You know, he's opposed to Donald Trump's personality, and as such, it's making him blind to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's actions. Their actions is what make them poor candidates for president.
Well, and you know,
Donald Trump's actions is what makes him a good candidate for president.
Hey, Mitchell, yeah, you're right. Let me, in 10 seconds, tell me, how far would you go to try to convert your friend?
In 10 seconds, I would make 2 phone calls or 2 texts, and if he didn't take it from me trying to be generous, then I would let it go.
All right, Mitchell, thank you very much for the call. More of your calls coming up next, 7:15. Time to check the roads. All right, 7:16, Nashville's morning news. Partly cloudy today and a high of 86. Sunny this weekend, highs in the upper 80s. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's morning news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Got a note from a guy asking my advice, and so I'm asking for your advice on what you would tell Tom. He has a friend, used to be a Trump supporter, somehow turned into a Kamala supporter, and is inundating Tom with all of this anti-Trump propaganda, and Tom is just getting exhausted trying to deal with all of this anti-Trump propaganda that is coming his way from his friend. And he's asking my advice. Do you try to convert somebody like this, or do you just move right along? Tony is on WTN, line 4. Hey, Tony, go ahead.
Hey, Dan. So one thing I've found that when you have people like this who are, either whether they're a never Trumper or just a plain Democrat, supporter, they almost can't be convinced. They are so sure in their mind that Donald Trump is just the most evil person on earth that there is no getting through to them.
Yeah.
And you could try to argue with them until your face turns blue, and you're never going to persuade them. Honestly, I would say the best course of action is to, what's the word I'm looking for?
Extricate?
Extricate
that person out of your life?
Well, or that, or just shower them with love. Love, and just, be like, you know what? I love you, brother, but we're never going to agree, but, I'll always be here for you.
Yeah.
Kill them with kindness. That's the word, phrase I was looking for.
And you know, Tony, that actually makes a lot of sense, to kill him with kindness. And maybe you give that person the opportunity and say, listen, if we can have a relationship without the politics, then I would love to do that. But if you can't control yourself, then we're going to have to move on. Brian is in Hendersonville on WTN. Hey, Brian.
Hello.
Hello. Go ahead.
Yes. Well, how do I put this and be nice about it? Well, I do agree with the last caller. Toilet paper is made in the U.S. We have our own water. We have our own oil. Kamala owns something, God knows what, or she'd get off of it. And killing them with kindness is a good idea, but I'm so angry. I mean,
right.
Our eastern coast has been decimated, and my daughter almost got caught in it, and the attention is not there. And then you got these people on strike, which the one fellow said that he would cripple us, whatever.
Well, and I'll say this, Brian, and you're right. Now, luckily, that strike has been averted till conveniently enough after the election, but we'll have to see what happens. But Brian's got a point, which is what a lot of people say, which is we've all been living under 4 years of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. And so when somebody suddenly turns from a Trump supporter to a Kamala supporter, knowing what we've all been through, it lacks any, to be perfectly candid, common sense. Caitlin is on line 6 on WTN. Hey, Caitlin, go ahead.
Good morning, my friend. I believe I agree with everybody except Payola Dude. But what I would say is you have to love them where they are, and you have to let them. If they want to be argumentative, let them. If they want to send you articles, let them. If they want to be ignorant, let them. However, if your relationship is that important, it should last, or it should go through this election cycle, because guess what? That's what makes this country great, is the ability to disagree and still love one another at the end of the day.
You know, you're right, Caitlin. The problem is that, and I think most of us would agree, that we can put presidential politics or all politics aside and still have a relationship. There was a segment that I did, I think it was a week or two ago, and CNN was talking to a bunch of kids. Remember this segment where CNN was talking to a bunch of kids?
Great.
Yeah, and it was the little kids, like 10 years old, and they were like, you know, the Republican kids were fine and well going over to the house for a sleepover of Kamala Harris supporters, but the Kamala Harris supporting kids, they wanted nothing to do with the Donald Trump supporting kids. And I think that does tell you a lot, and I think that is mirrored with adults as well. Caitlin, great call. Thank you very much. I want to get through these. Paul is in Crossville on WTN. Paul, go ahead.
Good morning, Dan. I just want to say something about that last call about that Trump deranged syndrome.
Okay.
It's non-existent. We're patriots. We're Americans, and we've got to stand up for what's right in this country. That's really all I want to say. I think that guy's deranged.
All right. Thank you, Paul. I appreciate it very much. Corey, trying to get through these, in Murfreesboro on WTN. Hey, Corey.
Hello, sir. I just want to say that I believe Tom is trying to have his cake and eat it too kind of thing. I spoke on a caller with Chris's show not too long ago about a lady who wants to vote for Trump but just can't bring herself to voting for Trump for whatever reason. So I would ask that person, whoever it is, Tom or otherwise, if you were a Trump supporter, something specifically happened to switch the switch for you, and I would like to know what that is, because if it's a one-issue thing, then don't vote for Trump, because we don't need it.
Thank you very much, Corey. Appreciate it. Great point. And Chris, his last call here. I know, Johnny, the phones are going nuts, but Chris, you're last up in White Bluff. Hey, Chris, go ahead. Oh, all right. You know, I made such a big deal about how he was going to be the last caller, and then he just hung up.
Just couldn't hang on.
That's all right. All right, so my official advice, and Johnny, if you have any advice for Tom, my official advice is that you try your best to maintain that friendship, but if that person simply refuses to agree with your opinion, that you have your own opinions, and they refuse to respect your opinion by and large of being a Trump supporter, and they're making your life a living hell by sending you all of this anti-Trump propaganda, you just disconnect. I mean, I'm just going to tell you folks where I am on this. Y'all know that I've had people, very, very, very important people in my life that is completely disconnected with me because of my conservatism. And it took a lot of years. I'm just telling you. It took a lot of years for me to get over that. Family members who I cherished and I treasured. And it took me a lot of years to finally be able to get over it. But now I have. And I think that for a lot of us who have dealt with this, if you don't respect my right as an American to have my own political opinions, then if we can't agree to disagree, well, then we'll have to agree to part ways. Because, friends, let me tell you something. Life is too short. And just because somebody's been your friend for a long time, just because somebody's been a family member for a long time, just because somebody has been near and dear to you for years, doesn't mean that when they change and they start attacking you, you don't throw good time away because somebody that used to be in your life and was really important to you has suddenly changed. You do your best. You try to do whatever you can. And you also say the door is still open, will always be open if you want to have that relationship. But as it stands now, if you're going to sit here and you're going to call me a racist and all of these other things because I support Donald Trump, well then, you know what? That's not a relationship based on love and respect. And so just because somebody at one time was important to you and may always be important in your life doesn't mean that you can't move on and deal with the heartache, deal with the sadness, but then at some point you do have to move on. You just do. At least that's my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. 7:25, time to check the roads on Super Talk 99.7 WTN as soon as I tell you about my Patriot Supply. Dan Mandis here. Let me ask you a question. Do you think our country is going in the right direction, or does it feel like everything is falling apart? Now, if you're feeling alarmed, you're not alone. As a matter of fact, Americans from all walks of life have taken action to prepare for whatever is coming up next. And that starts with having an emergency food supply. Storing food in your home is the right thing to do because we are living in crazy times, which explains why so many people are preparing. Now, right now, you can get My Patriot Supply, a 3-month emergency food kit at preparewithmandis.com. The entire kit offers 2,000 calories every single day. So go to preparewithmandis.com right now and order your 3-month emergency food kit, preparewithmandis.com.
I started work in the early 60s, and Tennessee had a deer stalking program already in place going, primarily from Clarksville base within the Fort Campbell area. From that area, a lot of deer were stalked in middle and west Tennessee, and then later on, we started taking deer from those areas and stalking other areas. So it was a progression. It moved pretty fast. The deer sometimes were faster than the stalkers were.
I bet that was pretty exciting trying to trap those deer and move them and know that you're making a huge impact.
Well, we wasn't all that confident.
Oh, really?
Because a lot of the counties had dog problems. You know, they'd be wanting to dog the deer, and it didn't hold up under that kind of pressure. And we had to go back in and restock. And there was a lot of different types of law enforcement work that had to be done.
I hear you.
And the officers did a good job. And we talked to a lot of the judges, and they clamped down pretty hard on somebody poaching deer out there. Back then, we only put out 15 or 20 deer. It was critical. In fact, at that time, it could cost you your truck.
Yeah. It's an amazing success story. You hear folks saying, well, we didn't see a deer when I was a kid, and now you just have to walk out your back door and you got in a subdivision grazing or driving down the interstate highways or whatever, you see a deer just about every day.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder if we're too efficient.
Some folks say back in the good old days, but I don't know. Right now, hunting and fishing is really good.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Good morning. It's now 7:31, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. We got your traffic and weather coming up. Stick around. Got an update here on Hurricane Helene in Tennessee. Now, the death toll stands at 11 today. That is the same as yesterday. There are also still 27 people who are unaccounted for. At the beginning of the tragedy, that number was 500. With FEMA largely out of the picture in North Carolina and Tennessee, smaller local airports like the city of Statesville Regional Airport and Hickory Regional Airport have transformed themselves into donation drop-off and delivery zones, courtesy of a few dozen volunteers lending their time, critical supplies, and in some cases, even their planes and helicopters. Eric Robinson is one of those heroes.
So we have fuel trucks in the mountains, so a helicopter doesn't have to come all the way back here. They can land at a certain refueling point, also grab water, supplies, whatever they need from there, and then kind of meet needs from there.
Volunteer group Operation Airdrop flew a reported 37 private helicopters to assist with rescue efforts in the rural high country of North Carolina. And many places in Tennessee and North Carolina are just still cut off from the world.
Getting supplies to western North Carolina has involved aircraft and, where roads are usable, vehicles. Elsewhere, the relief effort has taken a decidedly low-tech turn. Mules are being loaded with food, water, and medicine and led into the storm zone.
They're able to carry 150 pounds each, which is more effective.
Amanda Schumacher is a volunteer with Mountain Mule Packer Ranch, running mule trains into the Black Mountain area and beyond. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
Pretty amazing. Dow futures are up right now 61 points. We're looking at NASDAQ futures gaining 66. S&P futures are up 13 points. We are just learning from the Labor Department that last month U.S. job creation totaled 254,000, and that was much better than expected. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. 7:33 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Dan Mandis here. Listen, we've been doing business with Middle Tennesseans for many, many years. I'm talking, of course, about DT McCall's. And I like to call that generational growth because they do it all at DT McCall's. Great value, outstanding merchandise, and terrific customer service. Now, you know that I am a customer of DT McCall's. I bought several things there, but the most recent was an oven. Now, coming up in the next couple of months, I'm going to Spring for a new washer and dryer, and I'm going to go to my friends at DT McCall's because, again, they do have great merchandise and outstanding customer service and prices as well. This is a great American company, a great Tennessee company that has indoor and outdoor furniture, those appliances, kitchen appliances, and all the best brands. Financing options are also fair and reasonable. They know at DT McCall's the times are tough right now, so they're going to do what they can to give you every opportunity to get what you need. They've got 5 locations across Middle Tennessee: Carthage, Cookeville, Lafayette, Lebanon, Franklin, always online, dtmccalls.com.
Wow, this problem in Antioch is just a mess this morning. Murfreesboro Pike is still closed off. Hamilton Church Road to Morris Gentry Boulevard by a crash. They're still working on it. It's right near the town suites. Also a crash in Antioch on 24 eastbound lanes at Haywood Lane, exit 57. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
7:39, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Congressman Scott Desjardins joins us on the Newsmaker Hotline. Congressman, always great to have you on, and I love what you've done. I don't know if this was yesterday or in the last couple of days, but what you're doing is you're asking ICE and all the folks in charge of immigration, you want answers for the lack of data of illegal migrant juveniles committing crimes in this country, and that there is no vetting process for juvenile border crossers. Now, the reason why this is so important, especially right now with, 32 days or so until November 5th, the reason why this is so important is because this is one of many issues that really do personify a lack of coherent border policy or immigration policy of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden.
Yeah, absolutely right. And we just sent a letter yesterday to the Deputy Director of ICE, Patrick Leichner, and asking him those questions because the Biden-Harris border policy seems to just be an open door policy, no real vetting. We've got 670,000 known criminals roaming the country right now, and there's probably more than that. We have known terrorists, and it's interesting that right here in Tennessee, a store there in Gallatin was broken into several times by these juvenile illegal immigrants stealing guns, and this is going on all around the country. You don't have to look far. You can just look in almost any state, and somebody's complaining about these young men who Obama used to refer to as dreamers under the Harris administration. I think dreamers may be equivalent to gang members, but it's Jeff Landry, a representative I served with in Congress, who's now governor of Louisiana. Sees a huge problem with young illegal immigrants being recruited into organized crime, and it just kind of makes sense because we used to have a legal immigration system where we vetted people. There were so many people that were allowed into the country, upwards to 1 million every year legally. That's all been thrown out the window. I don't even know why we bother with any kind of legal immigration system anymore. It's been totally, turned upside down when you have upward to 20 million people enter the country in 4 years. I don't know how you put that toothpaste back in the tube and how you fix that problem. I mean, first thing would be mass deportations of these criminals. How hard would it be? Right. Of course, they're the hardest to catch because they're in hiding. But, yeah, so anyways, back to your point, we're trying to keep the pressure on. And right now there's no vetting process whatsoever. If you're a minor, you come here, they don't ask if you've been affiliated with a gang. They don't ask whether you have a criminal record. You're just released into the country. And so, we were getting calls and we were seeing articles. And so we penned this letter to try to keep the heat on the Biden administration. However, is it the Harris administration? I don't really know who's president now.
Well,
but, we want to get some answers.
Yeah. Well, you remember this moment during the debate where J.D. Vance was trying to talk about a lack of this coherent policy, and he was talking about the app that the illegal aliens or the migrants, whatever you want to call them, use to come into our country. This is how the Biden administration justifies allowing these people in, and how this is how they will say, well, these aren't illegal aliens, they're legal.
So there's an application called the CBP One app where you can go on as an illegal migrant, apply for asylum or apply for parole, and be granted legal status at the wave of a Kamala Harris open border wand. That is not a person coming in, applying for a green card and waiting for 10 years. That is the facilitation of illegal immigration, Margaret, by our own
Thank you, Senator, for
leadership.
describing the legal process. We have so much to get to, Senator.
Those laws have been on the books since 1990.
Thank you, gentlemen.
The CBP One app has not been on the books since 1990. It's something that Kamala Harris created, Margaret.
Gentlemen, the audience can't hear you because your mics are cut.
Here's the deal, Congressman Scott Desjardins. I think the audience heard what J.D. Vance was saying loud and clear, and he is absolutely right about how these people are coming in. They're being called legal, but they're really not.
Yeah, and that's the problem. It baffles me how the media can just sweep the border crisis under the rug for the convenience of the upcoming election for fear of Donald Trump coming back in and actually securing our border. All these folks are being impacted by it. This crime is everywhere across the country. So this moderator could have her home broken into, and would she change her tune? They're so lockstep with the Democratic Party and the Liberal Party. When I say they, I'm talking about the liberal media, which is about 90% of our country, whether it's social media or whether it's radio, except for stations like yours. We're just in the vast minority, and they basically spread these falsehoods, or they cover up what we know are real problems, and they're just doing it in the name of keeping their puppet in power in the White House. We just dealt with the puppet administration, and they're trying to create another one. How do you go for 78 days as the nominee? First of all, why is Kamala Harris even the nominee? I don't understand how that process actually took place. I see if Biden died in office, if Biden resigned, then you pick yourself a new nominee. But if Biden can't run a political campaign, how in the heck can he be running the country? And I know this is off topic, but here's a media that's protecting Kamala Harris. We have J.D. Vance making a great point on the border, and they cut him off. And I hope the American people are smart enough to see what's going on here, because we all see it, we all feel it. There was a new terrorist threat report just released this week by DHS and Christopher Wray. There's terrorists amongst us where the financial strain that the illegals are causing in this country is immeasurable. They say it's up to $80,000 per immigrant per year. We're already so far in debt we can't see straight, and then we're continuing to compound this problem.
Yeah, it's Congressman, I'm going to ask you to comment on a couple of other things real quick. Congressman Scott Desjardins is joining us on WTN. Time to check the roads. Thank you very much. Partly cloudy today, a high of 86. Sunny this weekend with highs in the upper 80s. Right now, 65 at WTN's Congressman Scott Desjardins is joining us on the Newsmaker hotline. I want to play this audio bite, and to me, it is an example of, I'm going to stay with illegal immigration for a second, but it's part of a bigger point. This is Alejandro Mayorkas. This is two examples of Mayorkas where he's talking about, number one, they're going to be a big part of bringing these illegal aliens into our country and spending millions of dollars to help these folks. But on the other hand, they don't have any money to help people get through the floods and the hurricanes for the rest of the year.
FEMA is going to be playing a pivotal role in our shelter and services program that is poised to distribute $363 million to cities and communities in need of funding. We do not have the funds. FEMA does not have the funds to make it through the season.
I mean, I don't know, man. I hate to sound like a broken record, but we're spending how much money, not only, of course, on illegal aliens, but also on Ukraine, and we don't have enough money to help people at home.
Yeah, it's baffling. You understand the frustration when it comes to Ukraine and Russia, whether it's Israel, whether it's Indo-Pacific issues that are going on there. You got to look at it like Trump does and put America first. Let's solve our own problems, and then we can help other countries. We're not going to be in a position to help other countries much longer if we don't take care of our own borders, if we don't take care of our own people. They keep borrowing and spending money we don't have on issues that are important, but not as important as what's going on here at home. I hear oil prices are set to go up 10% every week because of what's going on in the Middle East. I can't believe it hasn't already started to happen. But, we could be at $4 gas before the election. The war in the Middle East is heating up there. We definitely could be in a direct conflict with Iran. And I'm glad that Israel's going after these terrorist organizations, whether it's Hezbollah, Hamas, or Houthis. These are all Iran-sponsored terrorists. We all know that. They are our enemy. They're able to pay for these because Biden gave them $6 billion back and is allowing them to sell oil. We've got the Russia-Ukraine thing going on. We got China watching the weak leadership in this country. And then you've got a new administration, I guess you call it a new administration with Harris, that won't answer questions, has not done interviews. She's got a vice president who won't answer questions. They'll make statements, but they won't be held accountable, and the media doesn't do that. They didn't do it in the debates, and they continue not to do that. This should be the easiest election we've ever had. All you have to do is look at where we were under the Trump economy, the Trump energy policies, the Trump border, the DOJ, whatever you want to look at. Where were we 4 years ago, and where are we now? And if you can see through the smoke screen that the media has put up, it should be an absolute no-brainer. Whether you like Trump or don't like Trump, Harris is a puppet. I'm not saying she is a stupid woman. I'm just saying that she will not explain her policies, and her record is horrendous. It's that of a socialist, and that was well established when she couldn't get off the ground in 2020.
Well, J.D. Vance, he mentioned yesterday, I don't have the audio handy, but one of the things that J.D. Vance said yesterday was he felt sorry for Tim Walz during that debate in retrospect, because he is being asked to defend the indefensible. And that's something that we've been saying for a long time. How do you possibly defend Kamala Harris and the policies that she has been involved with for not only the past 4 years, but, man, you can go all the way back to her time as the DA of San Francisco, the Attorney General of California as well, and when she was a senator, and she was one of the most liberal senators in the Senate. And so everywhere you go, and I saw a story today, thank you, Congressman Scott Desjardins, appreciate it. I saw a story today where the squad, right, the ever-shrinking squad, by the way, but the squad was actually now trying to get Kamala Harris to go further left, because they think that right now whatever Harris is doing is not working. And I read that this morning, and I'm like, oh, please, yes, Kamala Harris, go further left. Go ahead. Make our day. It is 7:51, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Joan Jones, what's coming up in the news?
Well, I'll tell you, Dan, more impact plastic workers come forward to blame the company for the deaths of employees during Hurricane Helene. Also, looks like President Trump is burying the hatchet with a former political foe. We've got those stories and more coming up at 8 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. 7:52. Homeowners, listen up. The Fed has taken action, lowering rates for the first time in years, and Loan Pronto has followed suit by lowering mortgage payments big time. Again, Dan Mandis here. Loan Pronto just locked in a homeowner at 4.59% APR. That is the lowest in 2 years. Now, whether you got your loan last month or last year, it is time to call Loan Pronto and dump that high-rate loan. You can lock in at a lower rate fast with virtually no paperwork and usually no appraisal. There's no limit as to how much money you can save when you refi with Loan Pronto, so get started. Even if you're in the process with another lender, give Loan Pronto a call. If you act right now, you can even skip your next 2 house payments. Purchase loans available as well, so call now and get your rate quote in minutes with no hard credit pull and no upfront fees like those other guys. 615-499-5780, 615-499-5780, loanpronto.com. Find them online. Again, loanpronto.com. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781. On approved credit, NMLSconsumeraccess.org. Hey everybody, Dan Mandis with Nashville's Morning News and Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I was speaking to Dr. Christopher Van Shank the other day at a station event. Now, he's a psychiatrist, and he was telling me about the mental health crisis here in America. And as you know, it's out of control. The COVID lockdowns were an absolute disaster. And Dr. Van Shank, again, he's a psychiatrist, And if you're one of those people, you feel like maybe you need to talk to somebody, I would recommend Dr. Christopher Van Schenk. He can help you with addictions, depression, anxiety. He can also help kids with the same thing. He's been doing this for 15 years. He's been helping people, and he is here for you today. So if you want to check out his website is nolensvillepsychiatry.com. That's nolensvillepsychiatry.com. There's a whole list of issues that he can help you with. So check him out. If you feel like he can help you, give him a call. The number is below, and good luck. .56, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. A favor from me to you, friends. Make sure you know who you're texting. Guy from Twitter has sent a text into the super text line. I love you, baby doll.
Well.
Hope you're sleeping good, baby.
Whoa.
With a kissy emoji.
Do we need to leave you guys alone for a minute?
right.
No, please don't. I texted back and said, wrong person, my friend, but for the record, no, I'm not sleeping well, and certainly not after that. Anyway.
I felt a little uncomfortable.
That's right, uncomfortable. That's exactly right, Johnny B. Anyway, moving right along. I'm wondering if he's going to text me back and apologize and just like be a little embarrassed. You know what I mean? Because I would be. And you know what? You have like pet names for your significant others, like baby. It feels weird even just saying it.
Yeah,
like I would never call.
Hey, baby. Hey, baby.
I'd never call Amy baby.
We go with. I call my husband Hun.
Do you?
Yeah, Hun.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
also have other, pet names that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like Pookie.
Well, no.
My wife just calls me jackass. So
That's the word. I can't believe it. That's the word I use for.
Wow.
Are you serious? That's what you use for your husband?
I think it's universal.
Wow.
And when I do use it, he says, "I love when you love me like that."
That's exactly right.
Oh my goodness.
It's like you love me.
Weird.
All right, moving right along. 7:58 on Nashville's Morning News. Special thanks to the Glock Store for sponsoring our VP debate watch party. Now, they're also going to sponsor our election night broadcast Tuesday, November 5th at the Wilson County Fairgrounds. Cannot wait for that, by the way. Again, Tuesday, November 5th, Wilson County Fairgrounds. All of us are going to be there. It is going to be a long night, but if you want to come join us, please do. Now, the Glock Store, they are big supporters of WTN, so we should support them. Now, listen, if you need anything 2A related, guns, training, ammo, customization of your gun, the Glock Store is an incredible place to celebrate the Second Amendment. Now, you folks know that I'm going through the training. It is great. Really, it doesn't matter how good of a shot you are. They can make you better. They allow you to train in rooms, not lanes like all those other places. And that is such a key benefit that is unique to the Glock Store. And that is why I choose the Glock Store to train and shoot myself. The Glock Store, minutes from the airport and worth the drive from anywhere. Find them online, glockstore.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Good morning. It is now 8:01, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Got a long-running closure this morning in Antioch. Murfreesboro Pike has shut down Hamilton Church Road to Morris Gentry Boulevard. There was a crash earlier, and now the investigation is taking that up. We've got your full forecast and traffic coming up. New this morning, at least 215 people has died as a result of the destruction wrought by Hurricane Helene since it made landfall in Florida a week ago. More than half the deaths were in North Carolina. The death toll in Tennessee is unchanged at 11. Interstate 40 between Tennessee and North Carolina will be closed indefinitely. The roadway needs to be rebuilt after being completely washed out by the hurricane. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg is staying focused, though, on blaming climate change for the disaster.
It may be that the newly reconstructed road or bridge will look a little bit differently than the one that it replaced because the reality is we have to build for a new normal here in terms of the extreme weather in this country.
For now, drivers will need to take I-81 north into Virginia and then make their way down into North Carolina on I-77. Well, hospitals across the U.S. are taking steps to conserve their supplies of IV fluids after Hurricane Helene, because a North Carolina company, Baxter International, said it is shutting down operations and raising concerns about a potential nationwide shortage. The company makes IV fluids for most U.S. hospitals, but it was flooded out during the hurricane. There are 4 primary manufacturers of IV fluids in the U.S., and Baxter is the leader, accounting for about 60% of the market. A criminal investigation of Impact Plastics in Irwin, Tennessee, is underway as the company has released its own investigation of its actions as Hurricane Helene was beginning to unleash deadly flooding. 11 people were swept away. At least 2 have died and several are still missing. Zinnia Adkins is an employee. She says they should not have been working during the storm.
If they would have just said, go, or y'all don't need to work today. They knew there was a chance. We worked right next to the river. None of this would be happening. None of the families would be going through what they're dealing with.
Impact Plastic says it'll cooperate fully with the investigation, and it claims employees were never told they would not be fired or that they would be fired if they left the facility. And a sight to behold today, President Trump and Georgia Governor Brian Kemp are appearing together for the first time since 2020. The pair are visiting Evans, Georgia, to receive a briefing on the devastation of Hurricane Helene and deliver remarks to the press. That visit will mark Trump's second trip to the storm-ravaged Georgia this week. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Well, that long-running crash investigation this morning, it's Antioch, and it has Murfreesboro Pike between Hamilton Church Road and Morris Gentry Boulevard completely shut down. It's been that way for several hours here. Also, East Nashville, a crash is partially blocking off the off-ramp, Ellington Parkway southbound at the off-ramp to westbound Spring Street. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Information fueled,
opinion driven. This is Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
we talk news.
8:07, Nashville. Sorry, I can't do it. Nashville's Morning News. I got a note from Amy. Joan, you'll love this. Amy's like, so payola triggers you. Ha, ha, ha. In case you missed it, a guy tried to hijack the segment in the last hour. And see, that's what angered me. It's not, the guy calls up and we're doing the thing. It's a specific question and so forth. And the guy calls up and he clearly wanted to go personal and accused me, because I read commercials, of partaking in payola. Now, for you folks that don't know, very, very surface conversation on this is payola was way back when, where disc jockeys or radio stations or whatever, they were paying money.
Or other things.
Yeah, or other things to play the music. And people didn't know. That's payola. And so what we do in talk radio is something that, all radio stations do this. It has been something that ever since talk radio really started is talk show hosts reading commercials. So the guy was basically talking out of his butt, but he was also getting
under
personal.
your skin.
Yeah, well, he was trying to get personal.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so he said something about wanting to give me some advice or something. Now, I think that I did really well because what automatically popped into my head, and I hope that, what's his name is listening, whatever his name was. Larry. His name was Larry. I said, well, no, Larry, let me give you some advice. Piss off. I wanted to do that.
Yeah.
But I chose not to.
Took the high road.
Well, apparently that high road got to the low road at about 8:08 this morning. But you see, here's the thing, though, and then I'll move on because it's not what I want to do. But what actually really angered me was that I was trying to do a segment. I'm trying to do my job.
Right.
And this guy calls up and he wants to hijack the segment and he wants to, distract me and get me sort of off kilter in what I really wanted it to be a really good segment. And I think that it was, full of phone calls and stuff. So now people are like, see, you cut people off. I actually don't cut people off. What I try to do is get in as many people as possible because I can't really take a lot of phone calls during the morning show. And I'm telling you, I miss taking phone calls. When I did afternoons for a while, when I was in middays for 8 years, I loved taking phone calls. And I just don't get to do it anymore. So when I do get to do it, and then some jackhole gets on here and does what he did and tries to distract me from speaking to, really serious people who want to comment on the conversation at hand, it really angers me a lot. So it wasn't the payola question. It was the fact that he was trying to hijack the segment. That's what ticks me off.
And, if we were taking payola, my gosh, we're bad at it.
I was going to say,
we're sure not making.
Those payola people way back when, they got a lot of money.
They did.
So now the super snarks are on the super text line.
Oh, of course.
Donald Trump called Liz Cheney a stupid woman. You going to let him get away with that?
What?
Yeah, that's it. This is the audio at making the rounds this morning.
She was terrible. Liz Cheney is a stupid war hawk. All she wants to do is shoot missiles at people. I really think it hurts. I think, frankly, if Kamala, I think they hurt each other. I think they're so bad, both of them.
There you go. Now, realize, and again, the super texter, you're going to let Donald Trump get away with calling Liz Cheney a stupid? Yeah, I am, actually. You know why? Because when Donald Trump has been called not a serious person by Kamala Harris. Remember, that was one of the things that she always said about him. Donald Trump is not a serious person, says Kamala Harris. Trump has been called every name in the book. So, yeah, you know what? If he wants to call Liz Cheney a stupid woman, then that's his right as an American. And I also believe that it's not necessarily an insult. It's an adjective.
Well, he called her a stupid war hawk.
A stupid war hawk. There you go. And that is different, I believe.
It is. And I would like to tell Kamala Harris, I know Dick Cheney's supporting you. Whatever you do, don't go out hunting with him.
That's exactly right.
Could get a face full of buckshot.
Or a butt full of buckshot. That's usually where he makes his mistake.
Yes. With Dick Cheney, it's like he shot the other guy where Cheney himself usually speaks out of.
Thank you. Very good.
Done.
Fact that I was able to pull that off at and not screw it up, because I always screw up the good line, right? Anyway, there's a lot going on. J.D. Vance was out. J.D. Vance was out in Virginia, Damascus, Virginia, surveying the flood damage there.
I know that, we're of course in the middle of a political campaign. I think that one thing I've heard consistently from the governor is that FEMA has provided a lot of resources, and of course we're very grateful to that. But I also think that talking to people just on the ground today, but also talking to the governor, this is a community that has long been left behind by the leadership of this country. People who have been forgotten, people who have been ignored, people who have been judged, despite the fact that they are the nicest people in the world.
I think J.D. Vance has some great points. I think that the Democrats know that they're in trouble. How do I know that? Well, because new this morning on CNN, Barack Obama is planning a 27-day battleground blitz for Kamala Harris. You really think that Barack Obama wants to go on the road and go to places like Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and do all that stuff again? No, he doesn't want to do it, but he has to. The reason why Obama feels like he has to go on this 27-day battleground blitz is because he still wants to be the puppet master. I mean, isn't that I think we all understand that with Barack Obama, that he is the puppet master. Joe Biden and now Kamala Harris, they are puppets. We all know what Barack Obama said many, many years ago. If I could not do all the ceremonial stuff and just, sit in my basement in my sweatpants and, make all the big boy political decisions, but not have to do all the ceremonial stuff, I would love to do that and have somebody else do all of that ceremonial stuff. In comes Joe Biden. So clearly Obama and the Democrats, they're in a state of panic. And now Obama has to hit the road and lie to the American people, and he's going to tell the American people that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden doing a great job. Let's hear it for Kamala. So dumb. But you know what? Here's the deal. It tells you that we are on the right track. That's what it tells you. Because the more that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden fail, the better it is for us. Now, here's the deal. Please don't misunderstand me. What is happening with the recovery from Helene is horrible. It is absolutely horrible. And we've been telling you for the last, week or so how you can help the people. Because you know what? It doesn't seem like Kamala Harris and some of these other folks in FEMA, they may not be helping the people as much as they need that help. I'm going to get into that coming up at 8:15. Time to check the roads on WTN. Partly cloudy today and a high of 86. Sunny this weekend, highs in the upper 80s, and right now 66 at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. A lot of people are talking about the Biden administration. A lot of people are talking about the failure of the Biden administration to help people like Steve.
I guess we felt like we had been forgotten. The sense of isolation was just unreal for everybody. It's just like we just got squashed.
Yeah, that is Steve. He called the Murphy Show. I played some of that audio yesterday. And, Steve is emblematic of what is going on in our country in places like Eastern Tennessee and also Western North Carolina, some places in Georgia as well, with Hurricane Helene. Now, I don't know what is going on with FEMA. And most of you folks don't know either. I don't know if FEMA is helping people or not. But what I do know is there's a lot of people on the ground that are saying that no, FEMA is not helping people. TEMA, according to Tim Burchett, is helping people, Tennessee Emergency Management Agency. So TEMA, the state emergency folks, they are helping, but FEMA, according to a lot of folks, to be honest, nowhere to be found.
Literally, I'm just crying for my people. Like, how could the government do us like this? And how could the whole country just forget about us? Like, it's not enough. What is being done is not enough. I mean, there are entire communities that have been just decimated. Where is our government?
Yeah, that is a guy from North Carolina sitting in his car waiting for help that has yet to come for a lot of people in North Carolina. And here's the deal. The guy's a Kamala Harris supporter, but he's horrified at the lack of assistance.
I mean, for Kamala, and I am an avid supporter for her to stand in Florida today and make a statement. Where is our government? Where's the president? Where is that?
Yeah. Locals in Western North Carolina, when asked about the federal response, their answer is, what response? It's what they say. What response? Apparently there hasn't been. I don't know. I think it probably is regional. I think that FEMA, maybe they've been good in some places, not so good in other places. But you can't run away from this comment by Joe Biden. Listen to what he says.
What do the states in the storm zone need, Mr. President?
Sorry?
What do the states in the storm zone, what do they need after what you saw today?
Oh, in the storm zone?
Yes, sir.
I'm wondering what storm they're talking about. They're getting everything they need. And they're very happy across the board.
Wow. So in case you missed it, because I know that the audio isn't really good, I wish the audio was better so that people would be able to hear it better. But basically, Biden said, what? And the reporter says, the storm zone.
What storm?
What do people need in the storm zone? And Biden says, oh, the storm zone, yes. Everybody's happy. You do it, Johnny. You do, because I don't do it nearly as well as you do.
What storm are you talking about? Oh, that one. Oh, yeah. Everybody's happy. Across the board, they're getting everything they need.
That's what Joe Biden said. And it's a clear lie.
And I'm so mad. Like, I just want to scream.
Yeah. So here's what I'm seeing. People on social media saying they've been abandoned. No one is helping them. No federal response. So we have hurricane victims and those that are trying to help all posting to the socials, and they're being interviewed about what is happening on the ground.
They're in the way. They are directly interrupting our ability to conduct missions and operations. I went to put a couple of people into a hotel last night, and they have a security guard at the hotel, and they said, oh, we're so sorry. The entire hotel has been booked for federal employees. And I was like, no, I have people that would just pull it out of a mountain that are living out in the hills, and there's not a place for me to put them because we have federal employees that are staying in the hotel. I slept in this white car last night. I smell like foot and death right now, as does every single person on our team.
Right. I mean, the socials right now, they are incredibly active with people trying to help. But they can't, they say, because the government seems to be getting in the way. But the problem is, they'll say the federal government is getting in the way by literally not doing anything. This is what one guy said yesterday.
Oh, there's one small FEMA trailer with no personnel and no supplies in it. What there is lines of private planes that have landed and are taking off that have dropped off supplies and personnel. See, America is responding. The government is telling us there's no way to get in, but America's not listening. And
so you have FEMA with their press release, and Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, they say that everything's fine.
They're getting everything they need. And they're very happy across the board.
I mean, how do you ignore the roar of the American people that are being ignored by the federal government and by FEMA and by Kamala Harris? And again, I'm telling you that I don't know how many people are out there that are represented by what we are seeing on social media. I mean, we're seeing hundreds of people on social media. I don't know if that means that there's thousands of people that are out there that are begging for help. But one thing is very clear, that what Joe Biden says and what FEMA is saying and what Kamala Harris is saying, it doesn't match what some people are saying is happening on the ground. So is FEMA doing a good job? Some say yes, some say no. Again, it might be regional. Maybe they are better in eastern Tennessee, not so good in North Carolina. Who knows? There is no evidence that they are confiscating donations that I've been able to see. Pete Buttigieg, you heard from him yesterday.
Our goal is to make sure that funding is no obstacle to very quickly getting people the relief that they need and deserve.
Now, $750 is what they're giving. $750 is all folks are getting. And by the way, from what people are saying on the super text line, I don't know if it's true or not, but if you actually have insurance, you don't get that money. If you don't have insurance, you get the $750, but if you do, apparently you don't. I hope that's not true.
There's also some safety issues that come up. For example, temporary flight restrictions to make sure that the airspace is clear for any flights or drone activity that might be involved in helping to allow those emergency responders to do their job.
All right, so Buttigieg is telling people not to use your drones to find people who are stuck or trapped or stranded. You're not allowed to use your drone. From what people are saying, they're not using their drones either. So bottom line is, if you're being told to pack your drone and go home so that they can use their drones and so that they can use their flights, well, the problem is apparently they're not utilizing their drones or their flights or whatever it is. And again, all I'm saying is I don't know what the truth is. A lot of people on the ground that are impacted by this, and they're saying that there is no help, at least not nearly enough. We'll keep you updated on this story. 824 and Joan Jones, what's coming up?
We'll give you an update on the latest numbers from Hurricane Helene in Tennessee. Also, what the CEO of Impact Plastics has to say about the day the hurricane arrived and what happened to his employees. That's coming up for you at 8:30 here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. That is a fascinating and captivating story. Looking forward to that at 8:30. 824 Nashville's Morning News. Dan Mandis here. You know, the real estate market slows down, and when it does, Mark Spain Real Estate, they can help you out with their guaranteed offer. Now, with the guaranteed offer, there's no showings, no open houses, and no stress. It is absolutely hassle-free. You know, fall can be a busy time, and trying to sell your home can be overwhelming. With the guaranteed offer, you're going to be on the market. You're going to get an all-cash offer and close within days. And the best part of all of this, no stress. Now, the Mark Spain Real Estate, they've got over 12,500 five-star reviews, and you can trust Mark Spain to sell your home fast and for the most money. So call them at 855-299-SOLD or find them online. It's markspain.com to find out what your guaranteed offer would be on your home today. That's markspain.com and start packing.
I started work in the early 60s, and Tennessee had a deer stalking program already in place going, primarily from Clarksville Base within the Fort Campbell area. From that area, a lot of deer were stalked in Middle and West Tennessee, and then later on, we started taking deer from those areas and stalking other areas. So it was a progression. It moved pretty fast. The deer sometimes were faster than the stalkers were.
I bet that was pretty exciting trying to trap those deer and move them and know that you're making a huge impact.
Well, we wasn't all that confident.
Oh, really?
Because a lot of the counties had dog problems. You know, they'd be wanting to dog the deer, and it didn't hold up under that kind of pressure. And we had to go back in and restock. And there was a lot of different types of law enforcement work that had to be done.
I hear you.
And the officers did a good job. And we talked to a lot of the judges, and they clamped down pretty hard on somebody poaching deer out there. Back then, we only put out 15 or 20 deer. It was critical. In fact, at that time, it could cost you your truck.
Yeah. It's an amazing success story. You hear folks saying, well, we didn't see a deer when I was a kid, and now you just have to walk out your back door and you got in a subdivision grazing or driving down the interstate highways or whatever, you see a deer just about every day.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder if we're too efficient.
Some folks say back in the good old days, but I don't know. Right now, hunting and fishing is really good.
829 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Dan Mandis here. Now is the time to call my friends at Cove Generators right now. They are offering you a free 7-year warranty. That is over $1,000 value. So if you've ever wanted or needed a backup home standby generator, now is the time to do it. We've been talking about power outages for well over a week now, and to me, that is just a warning sign. You need to make sure that you are prepared for anything. And my friends at Cove Generators, they can help you do that by selling you a backup home standby generator at a great price, also including that free 7-year warranty worth over $1,000. And they also, by the way, also have great financing options that are also now available. They are your premier Generac home standby generator dealer in the state of Tennessee. So be prepared for the next power outage and call Cove Generators and never lose power again. Call them. They'll answer all your questions. 931-559-3311. 931-559-3311. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out and get that free 7-year warranty. You can find them online. It's covegenerators.com.
Good morning. It's now 8:30, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. I want to let you know that you may be sitting in some traffic on I-65 southbound before Gallatin Cross Plains, exit 112. There's an overturned vehicle, and it's blocking off the right lane. More coming up in traffic in a few minutes. An update here on Hurricane Helene in Tennessee. The death toll stands at 11 in Tennessee today. That's the same as yesterday. And there are still 27 people unaccounted for. Now, that number was 500 on the first day, so we are making some progress there. Impact Plastics, the Unicoi County company where 2 employees have died and several others are still missing, has yet to notify the Tennessee Occupational Safety and Health Administration about the employees' deaths. Meantime, the company's CEO, Gerald O'Connor, spoke to Channel 4 about its response to the hurricane.
There was time to escape. Employees were not told at any time that they would be fired if they left the plant. After checking to make sure everyone was out of our plant and to rescue important files, I was one of the last people to leave the plant and luckily escape.
Now, he goes on to say that no one died inside the plant. Video, he says, shows the missing employees stayed on the road near the parking lot for 45 minutes after the plant had closed. A long-time road closure is set to begin tonight in Davidson County. It's on Holt Road from Nolensville Pike to Edmondson Pike. It'll be closed for a road widening project, and it won't reopen until the summer of 2025. Well, the U.S. economy has once again defied expectations and churned out a higher than anticipated number of jobs. ABC's Jim Ryan has a look at the September numbers.
Analysts were expecting about 140,000 positions to have been created last month. The actual number from the Bureau of Labor Statistics stands at 254,000 jobs, with growth in food service, healthcare, and construction. The unemployment rate in September was virtually unchanged at 4.1%.
It's ABC's Jim Ryan, and that's started a rally on Wall Street as the market has opened this morning. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather. Our next, I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. 8:33 Nashville's Morning News. Dan Mandis here with a question for you. If your roof was destroyed in a storm, how much of that replacement cost would your insurance company cover? Now, if you don't know, you really do need to ask, because some insurance companies, they refuse to pay full replacement cost. They're going to deduct money for an older roof. Now, this means that the insurance company will depreciate how much they pay for your roof claim. Older roof, they're going to pay you less, and that could leave you on the hook for thousands of dollars. Now, my friends at King & Associates Insurance, they will pay full replacement cost. So whether you have to replace a 10-year-old roof or a 2-year-old roof, they do pay for it to be replaced, period. It is that kind of focus on customer service that makes King & Associates Insurance one of the best insurance companies around. 615-329-8121. 615-329-8121. Get your royal review, tkinginsurance.com.
Well, we do have an overturned vehicle. This is Cross Plains I-65 before Gallatin Cross Plains exit 112, and it's blocking off the right lane this morning. And a long-running closure in Antioch. It's a Murfreesboro Pike between Hamilton Church Road and Morris Gentry Boulevard. There was a crash there. It's still closed down because of the investigation. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.838, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. Time for the game of a gang of three. How are you?
Hello.
Hello, Joan. Hello, Johnny.
Hello.
So, Johnny and I, just for whatever reason, we cannot get over the fact that Bruce Springsteen is getting so much media coverage. Again, I guess maybe it's another sign of desperation, but so much media coverage because he has come out now and he has endorsed Kamala Harris. Now,
big shock.
You said, well, that's part of it. You said, Johnny, just listen to the man speak.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so let's listen to the man speak.
Hi, I'm Bruce Springsteen.
God, he sounds like Biden. You know what I think part of Bruce Springsteen's problem is? He's had so much of that plastic surgery that he can't really speak anymore. They pulled his face back so much that he can barely move his mouth. Is that?
You know, this hurts. I am a Jersey girl, born and raised. This hurts me that he's this left.
Well, you know, I like some of his music. I think he's written
love his
some
music.
Especially Human Touch. That was a great song.
Mm.
Not your favorite, huh?
No. I like the old stuff.
Sometimes.
Yeah, the old stuff was great.
Yeah.
Joan, sometimes we all just need someone to talk to and a little bit of that human touch.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
That's poetry, baby.
I thought it was. I thought it was a great song.
Friends, fans, and the press have asked me who I'm supporting in this most important of elections.
Sure they have.
Has he always sounded like this?
Yes.
He has?
Yeah.
Like
That's Bruce.
Is that Bruce?
That's Bruce.
You dumb.
The buzz.
And with full knowledge that my opinions no more or less important than those of any of my fellow citizens, here's my answer.
Yeah.
I'm supporting Kamala Harris for president and Tim Walz for vice president.
Sad.
And opposing Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. Here's why.
We all
Can't wait.
We know why.
Can't wait.
We are shortly coming upon one of the most consequential elections in our nation's history. Perhaps not since the Civil War, has this great country felt as politically, spiritually, and emotionally divided as it does than at this moment.
I wonder why, because your party calls our guy Hitler.
Yeah.
By the way.
And then he gets shot. Go on.
Yes, he does. And here's the other thing. You know that we can take this man of the people shtick seriously because he's in a diner and he's wearing flannel. Clearly.
And he has more money than all of us put together.
I mean, if he wants to, I mean, is it cliche at this point to say, okay, Bruce, would you like to, bring in some migrants? Because it sounds a little cliche at this point, but I mean, I played you the audio where you have conservatives roaming the streets and they're saying, okay, well, if you're for Kamala Harris and you think that her border protection or lack thereof has been appropriate, well, then would you take some migrants with that ignorance? No, that's not what well, you said, and nobody wants to, so that would be my question to
By
Bruce.
take them, you mean take them into their homes,
Yeah,
correct?
take them into their homes.
Yes.
Yeah, and the answer is always no.
Doesn't have to be this way.
No.
The common values, the shared stories that make us a great and united nation are waiting to be rediscovered and retold once again. Now that will take time, hard work, intelligence, faith, and women and men with the national good guiding their hearts.
I think I've heard enough.
Yeah. I think
The national good guiding their hearts.
And as Chris Hand, since he's not here, he would be asking, I wonder how much he got paid. And not a fan.
Bruce Springsteen doesn't necessarily, I don't think Chris Hand would be a fan of Bruce Springsteen.
Oh, not a fan.
The boss, by the way.
And the boss saying that Trump is a problem with him, he's a narcissist. And I'm thinking, this from a guy that calls himself the boss.
Right. Yeah.
That's exactly
Good
right.
point.
8:43 on Nashville's Morning News. I think that's all we need to say about Bruce Springsteen. As I said earlier in the broadcast, every time I hear some of these celebrity endorsements, I do picture the meme with the dog taking a number 2 on the lawn, and it says, downloading some celebrity opinions.
Yes. Yes.
I actually did. I took a picture of Bandit one time, and and he was, doing number 2. And he, for once, didn't do it in the house. Totally kidding. And I tweeted it out. Bandit downloading some celebrity opinions. It's oh so true.
Yes, it is.
All right, so let's see here. I wanted to talk to Joan about how, because it's been like a month, Joan, since you've been with us. So Joan has been with us on the morning show now for a month, and it's hard for me to believe people still asking what happened to Ken. Ken moved to the afternoon show because his wife's schedule changed.
All right.
And Johnny and I mean, we and the powers that be here at WTN, we love Ken and we want him to be happy, and happy life means happy news anchor. So we said, all right, Ken, go work in the afternoon with Brian. And that's exactly what happened. So no weird, conspiracy theory or anything.
No.
He just went off to, hang out with his wife and kids in the afternoon and not have to go to bed at like 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Is that what time you're going to bed these days, Joan? Is it 6?
7. I do 7 o'clock.
Have you found, because I know that when I started doing this show, my life did change dramatically. I mean, I went from, going from working noon to 3 and, basically it was a pretty good schedule on air. And then I did afternoons for a little while, and then I came to mornings. My mornings, it has completely derailed my life. Have you found that?
But my life has been derailed for 30 years doing morning radio. I mean, this is what and the real derailing was that I left radio. I was out of radio for a year and a half. I was happily retired.
And then that damn Mandis came along.
Yeah.
I did say damn, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I mean, between that and the breaking my arm, but life has been upended quite a bit.
But we're happy that you came out of retirement.
Well, thank you.
to hang out with us.
Yeah.
Listen, you chose this life.
I did.
You chose to be with me and Johnny in the morning.
We did. I did.
Mhm.
I did, and I'm grateful.
And I was so, I mean, I'll admit, I acted like a child about Ken leaving.
Your buddy.
Yeah, my buddy.
Yeah.
And, but, you know, I quickly got over it because Joan just, I mean, immediately.
That's nice.
Just fit right in, and it's been so much fun. And I can still hear Ken in the afternoon, and I still get to see him periodically.
That's exactly right, when you have to work late.
Yeah.
So when you get to see Ken, you're cursing me for whatever reason. Because you have to work.
I hear him doing it all the time. Not to throw you under the bus, Johnny.
Oh, no, I listen. I know that happens, and you know what I do, and I know that Johnny is cursing me is
America's the most powerful nation.
I make him listen to Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah. Overwhelming military.
That's what I make you do.
Well, in all fairness, I have heard secondhand of Dan saying, problem with Johnny, he's too old.
What? Wait, whoa. I totally missed what just happened. What are you saying? Who's
Do you
too
complain about him being too old?
Well,
Dan?
when I have problem with computer or something,
I never say you're too old.
It filtered back to me. You did.
No. Lord.
Problem with Johnny Bill, they're too old.
No, people have said that about me, actually.
Well, see, somebody's giving false news, fake news.
Fake news. Imagine that. Fake news.
Hey, can we turn this back to me for a minute?
Let's do.
Please.
I like this. So part of the reason that when I was retired, we got a dog. It was my brother found this dog. She came to our home. I love her. But she was the reason why my arm is broken, because I was playing with her. You know, she plays very rough.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, she plays really rough because she's young, and she's a breed that, the breed is actually a German short-haired pointer and chocolate lab mix. She's really pretty, too. Yeah, she's super pretty. Anyway, we have to get rid of her, guys.
Oh,
you have to get rid of your dog?
Yeah, I can't do it.
You got to get rid of Hazel?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
The problem is that she is too rough. She pulled me down a couple of times, actually.
Wow.
I dislocated my shoulder back in the winter, and now this. She's just a little rough for me.
So she dislocated your shoulder and now your wrist?
I broke my wrist, yeah. And this break is bad. It was one of those breaks that, the gruesome breaks where they have to put the hand back in place.
Right.
So
yeah.
I have a long road of recovery ahead. I've got to do a lot of physical therapy.
Did you tell me, though, that this dog is like super duper smart?
She is. Thank you for asking that, because you know what I did? I went to the internet. I know that they train dogs like her for military purposes, for police purposes, and I did find the military dog procurement program. It's down at Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote to them and I sent them pictures of her and the description of her, because I know that they take that breed. They accepted her.
Really?
They accepted her into the program. Yeah.
So Hazel's going to go off to, cooler things, and
I wish. So they accepted her into the program. But they wrote me this letter, but they said I have to bring her there. They used to send a crate and you would ship a dog off. Now you have to drive them to San Antonio and stay for the time that they're being vetted during this. They have to vet them for their temperament and physically and all that. And you have to stay there with the dog. So, I mean, I've already taken off so much time because of this injury.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do it. It would be really cool, though, because she's such a great dog. She is really smart. She's very trainable. She listens to commands so well.
So what happens to Hazel?
We're still looking for a way to give her
Hazel
to
doesn't have a home?
Well, of course she's with us, but I'm trying to find somebody who would just love her and take her into their home.
Aww.
Yeah,
she seemed like that, because just from the video that
I sent Johnny videos.
Yeah, because when Glenna was giving out those dog biscuits.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
She was. You talk about a cutie.
And she's well behaved, but she's very rammy because she's only a year and a half. She still has a couple of years to go. Rammy.
Rammy?
Yeah.
Well, she's, rambunctious.
Rambunctious.
Oh, okay.
Like a puppy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She thinks she's smaller than she is.
Well.
Dan, do you want to take another dog in?
No.
Oh, Bandit would love her.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
That's it. She would have a friend.
No.
And maybe Bandit would learn some of her good traits.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look at all of Joan's injuries. Good Lord. Well, listen. All right. So what kind of home does Hazel need?
Well, she needs somebody who can spend the time with her to throw the ball. She's one of those retriever dogs, so you could throw the ball 1,000,000 times and she will bring it back to your feet 1,000,000 times. And that wears her out a little bit. So it's somebody who has the time to spend throwing a ball and training her, Can't have other small dogs in the house because she really doesn't do great with small dogs.
By the way, 0272 does say that Christy Nome needs a dog.
Oh, Christy Nome, I love her. She will not get my dog. No.
All right, we are getting hammered with people that are interested in your dog.
Seriously?
Yeah. Do we want to do that?
I'd love to hear if other people have ideas about where she could go. Absolutely. I love her. I want her to have a good place to go.
And not with Christy Nome.
No.
No, Christy Nome is out. No.
Oh, you know what? People are saying Murphy Show. Murphy Show, maybe he needs a dog.
That's true. He has a couple of
He's
dogs.
a big dog fan.
Yeah, he's a big dog.
But doesn't he have small dogs?
No.
I don't know.
Okay.
I think his dogs are medium sized.
Okay.
I think.
She's got that thing where she doesn't like small dogs.
Hazel does?
Yeah.
Okay. So give me all right, so all you people that are hitting me on the super text line, Joan, give me the 30-second elevator pitch for Hazel, and then here's what I need to do.
Okay.
Send me a note on Facebook, private messenger, find me on Twitter, I'm on Instagram. I mean, just send me a note somewhere, find me, Dan at 997WTN.com. And I will act as the go-between between Joan and you folks, because some of you people are weird. Totally kidding. Give me the elevator pitch really quickly, Joan.
Okay. Hazel, 55 pounds, not a big eater, but she has so much energy. So it requires somebody to have a lot of time to spend with her and love for her. She had been abandoned, so she has a little bit of abandonment issues. She never runs away from you. She'll stay by your side. She's not a runaway kind of dog. Sweet, but loves to play. So if you've got the time, if you've got the patience, if you have the will to spend that time with her, she's just such a great dog. Sweet dog.
All right, so if...
Can I give you a picture to put on your Facebook page?
Yes.
So that people can see?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, send me the photos.
Yeah.
Of course, Johnny's getting videos, but whatever.
I'll send you a video. Gosh.
I'll
repost the video.
Well, Johnny, can you put them up on your Facebook too?
Yeah.
So between Johnny and I.
Okay, good.
Send us a note if you are interested in Hazel. Let us know, and we'd love to find Hazel a good home.
The best home.
All right, that's what we're going to do.
The best home.
And then when my wife finally kicks me out, we'll do the same thing with me.
We'll find you a good home?
To find me a good home.
Okay.
Moving right along.
Yeah.
Joan, what's coming up in the news?
Hey, guess what? Do you remember the Menendez brothers?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was in LA at the time.
They're trying to get out of prison. And I'll tell you what they're saying in order to do that. Also, the strike is over and they're back to work, but dock workers really aren't done with this strike quite yet. We've got those stories coming up at 9 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
8:55, Dan Mandis here. I'm in the middle of a great backyard makeover, and I know the value of updating and upgrading your backyard. And Moon Valley Nurseries can help you if you've been thinking about doing this as well. Now, think about what you would want in your perfect backyard. Then check them out online, moonvalleynurseries.com. That's moonvalleynurseries.com. You can actually add a ton of livable space to your home when you do this, not to mention increase the value of your home as well. So if you're not quite sure what you need, but you know that you need something, get a free design consultation from Moon Valley Nurseries, and you can prepare for any backyard event, big or small. They can help you by creating the perfect setting for anything, big or small. As always, tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out when you reach out. MoonValleyNurseries.com. That's MoonValleyNurseries.com.